Oh yeah, too late, buddy.
Fuck 'em. All right, everyone. Welcome to another Tuesday night Green Dragon Tavern chat. Thank you very much, Mule, for coming in and assisting Brother Man.
Got your back, bro. Got your back.
Brother Stan, good evening.
Good evening, good evening.
And I just wanted to open up and, like I said, bartenders and friends, welcome all. Just going to have a good time. Nothing really on the table. We can go off the we can go off the tracks. Would
Well, I
y'all?
got I got one thing that I just found out today. That really fucking pissed me off. I haven't been really paying much attention here the past couple of days because I got the grandkids around, so I'm kind of busy. But I ran across this video that Mark Dice just put up, and that clued me into the fact that in Houston, the city of Houston is suing, right, all the local pastors and wants copies of every sermon and everything they've done in the past couple of years since Houston's lesbian mayor has been in office, because they want to, I don't know, shut down free speech at the pulpit. And I just wanted to bring up, I just had a question for anybody out there that eventually listens to this as a, semi-podcast. You do understand that it's freedom of religion, not freedom from religion, that's in our Constitution. So the whole First Amendment is there because the state is not supposed to tell the church what to say, right? The state is not supposed to become the church. It's not the other way around, where the state's supposed to take over the church. Fuck you. They can talk out against homosexuality in the church as much as they want, because it seems they're only going after the Christian pastors. They're not going after the mosques. Shocker. Anyway, so I wonder what you guys thought about it.
I'm Canadian, so I have no say either way in your system, but I absolutely believe that what your founding fathers believed was separation of church and state, which is each one is equal in their own right. However, they need to be completely segregated from each other.
Right, but segregation doesn't mean you don't have an opinion. You know what I mean? And the church is, especially here in America, where we're not. I mean, there's big organized churches like the Catholics and the Pentecostals and some Baptists, but for the most part, each church is a standalone organization. So if they speak out on what they've read in the Bible that tells God to love the sinner but hate the sin, and then to call out homosexuality as the sin that it is in the Bible, because these are Bible believing people, well, that's not fucking hate speech. When you're calling a sin bad, you can love the murderer but hate the murder. You know what I mean? Or at least that's what the Bible taught me. The New Testament taught me.
You're on mute, brother.
Yeah, I was trying to let other people. I was trying to see if you or Stan were gonna kind of.
No, I'm sorry, brother. I had to get a little man.
All right. Well, while we're waiting, I'll do a quick shout out. There's 11 people in the room. And check it out. We got 11 people. 9 thumbs up, 1 thumbs down. That's awesome. Thank you. I love it.
I love it.
So what's up, caregiver? Caregiver's in via the Googly Oogly. Watch it on the Googly Oogly, it says. G, you were in there. Northwest Indiana Prepper was there 4 hours ago. Truth's in there. What's up, Truth? Stan? Jim? QC Hemp? Jim, come on in. You know that. Mutt was out there for a while. Says he went to bed.
Yeah.
Those are the ones I can see right now. So, what do y'all think? 15 people. What do y'all think about Houston suing churches, right, to stop them from speaking out against things that are in their religion? right? What do y'all think of a city in America, Texas of all places, fucking Texas
Well, if
of
you're
all
gonna do it,
places, right?
if you're gonna do it, you got to be uniform to all religions. You can't just pick at one.
Yeah, but see, in America, we're giving a pass to the Muslims these days, right? We constantly hear that all Muslims are not these jihadists, right? And that
Yeah.
there's plenty of moderate Muslims out there in the world, right? And it's a religion of peace, right? That's what you hear, right? And then you constantly hear them bagging on Christians for their beliefs, right? Now, understand now, and a lot of people take so much shit out of context. And especially people who don't understand Christianity. They don't understand that Christ came to fulfill the law, not have us live by the law. Hence why most Christian sects, because that's basically all we are, right? All allow you to, worship on Sunday, allow you to eat pork. Understand that God loves that Christ came down to fulfill the law, which needed a sacrifice to cover people's sins to be able to let them get in touch with God, right? So true Christian churches do not believe in violence at all. You don't see any real references to violence in the New Testament. You know what I'm saying? Not like you do in the Quran. Now, if you understand the way the Muslims' religion is, they believe in the Old Testament, the New Testament, and the Quran. Right? The Quran is their latest book. Kind of like the Mormons believe in the Old Testament, the New Testament, and then the Book of Mormon. Right? But the Mormons are not out cutting people's fucking heads off, right? Or while their religion at one time said they could marry multiple wives, they weren't marrying 9-year-olds, you know? So,
Yeah,
I
I
don't
just
know.
have a problem. I got a problem with you either, believe in what I believe or you're dead. And that's how they believe. Just like, it fucking ripped me apart when Tactical Tony was driving down the street last week and he sees a protest with all these Allah motherfuckers praying. They're just sitting there all in a big group praying to Allah. And you're right, like Neil said, they do promote violence. That's what they believe in. They will burn you, chop your head off, whatever the case may be, they will punish you
Right, but
or
there
kill
are
you.
moderate Muslims. Are there
I
people?
got neighbors. I wasn't finished. I
Sure.
got neighbors. I got neighbors that come from Pakistan. I got other people from all around those parts, and they are Muslim, but they're not like that. They're not like if you don't believe in Muslim, you're dead. They don't believe in that. They're good people. Matter of fact, Sarish used to watch Jaws when he was 6 months old, and she's a good girl. Graduated from high school, going to college, takes care of her mom. The dad passed away. She takes care of all the brothers and sisters. I admire that. I admire that. So, no, all Muslims are not bad. All Muslims
Right.
are not bad.
And that's where I
You
think
know,
you take it on an individual basis. There's
Well,
good.
in some ways, that's true. You do have to take it on individual. I mean, that's in America we can do that, right? In America, where it's supposed to be freedom of religion, right? So a Muslim, you can have one block where there's a Muslim mosque, a church, a temple, right, all in the same block, and then another church down the road or something. You know what I mean? Why? Because there are moderates here in America, and America promotes the moderation, right? It promotes the advancement of keeping your faith in your God, but also understanding and education and learning to get along with different peoples from different cultures, because this is supposed to be the melting pot. For a long time it worked, right? And hopefully it's still working, because we don't have the kind of terrorist problems that other places have, even though I'm sure we have plenty of Muslims that live in this country that are jihadists. I'm not saying every single one is. I'm not saying your dude who, gives you coffee in the morning is a jihadist, or your cab driver, or what, the guy that owns the pizza stand or the McDonald's or whatever, you know. But there are some in here. Just that's the truth by the numbers, right? Just when you have a large enough population, you're going to get that. But I don't know. To have the fucking city council and the mayor of Houston, subpoenaing, study books and sermons and discussions and Bible studies from these churches around Houston, and calling anybody who dissents against homosexuality hate speech. Well, that's, again, it just shows that, what, are we in the end times? I'm beginning to really think so.
And that's where obviously the mayor was wrong in denying the free speech of, or pinpointing one specific religion. As I say, if you're going to go after religions, you got to go after all or none.
Well, and that's what angers me the most. It's not that. Well, first of all, that they're going after a religion anyway, right? Now, whether you believe in them or not, they have the right to their opinions and to believe whatever the fuck they want to believe, right?
Yeah.
But like you said, they can't be selective on who they go after as long as nobody's calling for jihad, right? If somebody's speaking out against homosexuality and calling it a sin and saying that in the book that they believe, it says it's going to go this way, but they're not out there like cutting people's fucking heads off, then you can't be stifling what they have to say and calling it hate speech. Religious speech is protected, or it once was, not any longer. Now, and you don't have to believe it, you don't have to go to that church, you don't have to listen to them, whatever, but you can't call it illegal. You know what I'm saying? And that's what the city of Houston is trying to do, is trying to call speech that they don't agree with illegal speech. And that's why we ended up losing a lot of people and a lot of support in the Dragon 9 months ago, 10 months ago, right? Because people don't understand what fucking free speech really means. There is no such thing as hate speech. There's free speech, and you're responsible for what you say.
Right. Yeah, I remember having this discussion a couple of days ago with another individual. It's free speech, but it does have. You are responsible for what you say. Like you say, there's a responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about yelling fire in a crowded theater. You can't. You have the responsibility as a citizen not to do that because you're looking of your fellow citizen.
Right, unless there's a fire.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, and that's it's the thing that they've gotten away from in this country, is equating freedoms with responsibility, because with true freedoms comes true responsibility. But everybody in America wants to abdicate their responsibility, yet try and keep whatever little freedoms we have left, and that's not the way that shit works.
No, they're hand in hand. You have to have one with the other.
Yeah, it's impossible to have one without the other.
Yeah, if you don't have one, then the other falls apart.
Mm-hmm. So what's up, Chad? You're a good person to include in this, because you actually are not like a religious person on either side. You don't really like religion, right?
Yeah.
But I know you, right, well enough to know that you're an advocate for free speech, whoever's it is.
And that's exactly right. Yep, that's exactly right. And I don't like the idea that any one person, organization, or whatever is going to say thought speeches or thought crimes. It's illegal to think certain things or hold certain beliefs. I don't like the sound of any one organization dictating that to anyone.
That's why I was really glad when G invited you, because I thought your opinion on this would be great, because really you don't have any skin in the game. I mean, you do because you're an American, but you don't because you're non-religious.
But like I said, the offense to me comes that I see it as thought control, and that's what I don't want. That's kind of one of the things I don't like about religion, is it's a form of thought control, in my opinion. But I don't like the idea of anyone saying, hey, you can't believe in this, you can't believe in that. I don't think anybody should have that right to dictate to any of us And I don't have to agree with their particular set of beliefs to think they should have the right to believe whatever they want. They can make up their own mind.
Yeah. What's up, Sting? Oh, look at that cloud of vapor.
All right. How's it going, killers?
Well,
Sorry, my mom called. My mom called in the middle of that.
Oh, did she? I had asked Stinger because Stinger is like, and it's going to sound weird, but Sting and I have a lot of religious discussions, so I wanted his opinion of it as well. You know, which is why I'm glad that even though, like I said, not all of us agree on religion, but we all do agree on freedom. So that's the beauty. What's your opinion on that video, Sting? And then
freedom of religion, right? I mean, it's the First Amendment. If you're looking at it like that, it's an amendment. And my belief that you shouldn't do what I don't know. To simply disagree with it, I don't see as that's a problem. I can disagree with it. I disagree with a lot of things, and to be labeled something because I peacefully disagree with something is bullshit. However, the religious side of me, I saw this shit happening a long time ago. It's in the Bible that Christians are going to be persecuted in the end time. So, as a believer, I expected it. As a constitutionalist, it's bullshit. But you know what? It's the socialist world we're living in. So,
right. Well, I just and what the thing that disturbs me the most is if you're going to go after one, you're not going after all, like Stan said. You know, they're just picking on the Christians.
Nope. Well, they're making this new thing where they're going to start, once gay marriage is legalized everywhere, they're going to make it so that if you marry a couple, you also have to marry a gay couple. And if you don't, you're going to get your tax exempt status taken away from you. Now, there's a lot of churches that are already planning on just stopping marrying people. They're going to do the ceremony, but it's not going to be a legal marriage. You'll have to go to a justice of the peace or whatever to actually legally get married if that's what you want to do. And I totally lost my point on that. That effect, yeah. That's bullshit.
So why couldn't there be like traditional marriage, everything there is now, and then a gay marriage thing that does hold gay marriage ceremonies and is just fine with it?
Well, see, that's fine. I actually remembered my point. Thank you, Chad, because you kind of brought me back to where I was trying to be.
Right on.
I have no problem with a gay couple wanting to get married. That's fine. I don't think they should have a right to then sue and take away anything that my church has because my pastor believes it's not right. He's not saying you're going to hell. He's not saying, he's not preaching to them. He's just like, we're not going to marry a same-sex couple. Now, he's going to get punished for that is bullshit because that's his belief. Now, if they, as I said, if they want to go to the justice of the peace and do it there, that's fine, but they're not going to want to do that. They're going to want to go to a Christian church and make a point and call out the bigotry because it is part of the agenda. Now, will they go to a mosque? Will they go to a mosque and make a Muslim cleric marry a same-sex couple? I bet you they don't because there's no way in hell they want to make the Muslims, irritated in that sense. This is going to be an attack on Christianity, not Muslims, because Muslims are protected. You want to talk about they want to talk about how Christians are so horribly against gay people and they're bigots. What do Muslims do to gays? You want, the war on women here in America. How about the war on women in Iraq and Afghanistan? That's a war on women. That's a war on homosexuality. Here, I just pleasantly disagree with you, and I don't want to have my pastor be forced to do something he's not going to do. Well, he wouldn't do it anyway, but, now he's not even going to marry anybody just because he's in fear that they're going to shut down his church and imprison him if he marries a opposite-sex couple versus a same-sex couple.
See, and in that regard, I agree with you. I don't think that anyone should be forced to do anything they don't want to do. He should have the right to make his own decisions. If that's how he feels, then he should have a fucking sign that says right to refuse service to anyone. You know? I mean, it's his organization. He should be able to decide what he does and not be forced by the state to bend over and acquiesce, you know, because of whatever political agenda thing's going on.
Yeah, and that's my point exactly. Is I have no problem with homosexuals getting married. Just, if my church doesn't want to do it, go somewhere that does want to do it. There's going to be a million places that are all for that, but I don't think that's where they're going to be heading. They like to make a point.
And my problem is that they push it on us. You know, you're watching regular TV, you're just watching normal television, and they push it on us like, having guys seen, or, two dudes making out, or yada, yada, yada. It's like, the shit comes from all different angles. And again, I'm not against it. I'm not against guys having a relationship or getting married. Not at all. That's their thing. Free country. My whole thing is, it's like, for the public trying to push it on us, that's where I have the problem. If somebody wants to learn about it on their own and they're cool with it, it's fine. But don't push it on me.
Yeah.
Let me do my own research, and let me do my own research, and let me do more of these sides.
You know what's funny though, G, is that shit is being pushed on your children. Not only in school, but in movies, in kid movies, Disney, fucking Pixar. I watched The Muppets not too long ago. It was not the newest one, but the one right before it. And it was all against big business and big oil. Right? Now, that's a great conversation for us here on the panel to have. But whether you're for it or not, I don't really see it's appropriate for the audience that that movie entails. But that's just one example, right? I sat through that movie with my daughter at the time, and all I could think about is, wow, this has got some message that they're brainwashing into my children. And I started watching other movies, too, and I see all sorts of different messages. There's the gay agenda. There's the anti-big business. There's the anti-Republicans or conservatives. There's a lot of that going on. And even the older movies in the 90s and the 80s, I see that stuff now. And I don't know. It's just like blinders got lifted off, and all of a sudden I'm seeing that the indoctrination has been going on for a while, and it is targeting the youth. And with this indoctrination, when this kid that watches the Muppets, just for an example, grows up, you're going to hear a story on the news about big business or big oil, and they're automatically going to have that little opinion, and they're not even going to know why they have that opinion. They're just going to remember subconsciously that, oh yeah, they're the bad guy.
Yep.
The legal movie, right? The legal movie, the bad guy in that, big business. Business.
Ding, 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 ding. Tell him what he's won, Johnny.
Right.
No, you got it exactly. It's all in there.
And that's the thing. If we want to think for ourselves, that's fine. But it's not. It's not a movie directed towards me and you. It's a movie directed towards the youth to get them before they even know they've been gotten.
I know, but I was just talking about this the other day with these guys. If you go back, whatever childhood cartoons you watched, if you go back now and watch those same cartoons again, you will see the same propaganda, the same messages, the same overlays, the subliminals. It's all in there. Even in the ones we watched, it is all in there. And we didn't recognize it, of course, as children, but go back now with your adult analytical mind and watch it. And even in G.I. Joe, my favorite, I was all about G.I. Joe. Then I watch it now and I realize it's all about nationalism and, a brainwashing of pride and just all this stuff that's in there that you just never caught as a kid, but it's always been in there. That's why it's so important that's why they produce these shows, as a matter of fact. I always used to think, man, why do they care so much about entertaining me? Why do they spend all this time and effort just to entertain little old me? Because it's all programming.
Yeah.
It's got to be entertaining to get me to watch, but really the anchors and the embeds and the programming and that subtle stuff you're seeing.
It's definitely gotten more lately, too.
Yeah, it has. They've turned it up to 11, it almost seems like people are so sleepwalking that the normal stuff doesn't work anymore. So they had to turn it up or something. I don't know what that's all about, but yeah, they've turned it up. And I misbelieve that story that Mule was bringing to us. I caught the last half of it, but I mean, I catch the gist, but that's a scary sign. Because one of the bigger plans of this global elite is to replace all the known religions, all of them, with their new world religion. And I see them taking steps to do that. And obviously Christianity is going to be targeted because it's a major world religion. The Muslims are being targeted as well, major world religion. And they will replace all of it with the one they've crafted and upgraded. Religion 2.0.
Hang on.
Yeah, it's just a crazy situation that I mean, and, really, if you are a Christian and you've read your Bible, now I know whatever, but, it's going to be a scary old world out there. I'm going to do a couple quick shout outs.
Thank you, Neil.
Cover on G, because happy wife, happy life, baby.
Well, I'm here, brother. I'm here.
Oh, okay.
I'm just listening. Man. Good chat, good times.
All right, Southern Style's out there, and he says he seems to be having problem watching us without hellish lag, and he's got good download speed and good speed. I know I have the same problem, bro, watching the chats on YouTube, especially on Green Dragon. Tommy Boy's having the same issues. What's up, Doze? Dozier's out there. How's it going? Ronnie Brown. How's it going, Ronnie? Caregiver. How's it going, Care? Croatian Forge is out there. Joel's Quantum Heart School now. Going Gulp. Mutt's out there. J Watt's out there. 10 Rounds out there. Truth Seekers out there. Myself. And that's all that I'm seeing for now. Along with G, Mutt, and Jim. Oh, and Northwest was out there 4 hours ago. But,
4 hours?
Yeah, G had this up a while ago. We this afternoon, I think he set it up, and we had it liked already. Somebody had already thrown some comments up.
Yeah.
There's a little lad.
That's little Isaiah. That's the newest addition to the Mule crew.
Uh-oh.
He's my little AK lover.
That's a great photo, too.
That is him and his papa were hanging out, and it was just awesome. Big smile too on his face. He's a good kid.
Yeah, he was even smiling like, look at me, he's holding that thing. Look at me, look what I got.
Oh, we're an AK family. Oh,
when it comes down to somebody dictating thought, I mean, that's one of my biggest beefs with religion in general, is I don't like my thought dictated. That's why I have my own brain. But when it comes down to this fight of them telling people, hey, you can't have this belief system anymore, nah, screw that. I'm on the Christian side in this fight.
Yeah, you should have the right to believe in any belief you want.
Or not to believe.
Yeah, or not to believe, or even if it's a mixture of all the beliefs.
Hold on a second. I just got a message from a buddy of mine, Mr. X-Men Rules, right?
Yeah.
It says he's getting blocked on the Google Hangouts. Dude, I haven't blocked anybody since, 2 people. Okay, Amsterdam Bush and 420 Homestead. Mr. X-Men, I've never blocked you. I don't know the problem you're having on commenting, but I'm not blocking you from making any comments. Heck, I'm not even. I'd like to see you in the panel one time. And I've tried.
Nobody has you blocked, brother. Nobody's got you blocked.
Yeah, so I don't know why you're having a problem, but it has nothing to do with us. And because you're a long time, fucking Dragonite. So yeah.
If you got a problem, Max, just shoot me a message, and then I'll help you out as best as I can, bro. Just
Yeah. Oh, yeah. As I'm talking over you, come on. But anybody logged in as the Dragon, I can't do it because I'm on my phone, but you can always check your block list and see if he's on it. And if he was on it, then you can remove him.
Well, I know he's not on mine.
He's not blocked, dude, but I will check it right now. But I know
Yeah, and it's the only two people in as a Dragon are me and G. So, and like I said, I know he's not blocked on mine.
No.
Well,
I
he's
wish X-Man would join us.
Dragon. He's blocked on everybody's green light.
X-Man would never be blocked on
Right.
me. He's good
Yeah,
people.
he's not blocked in a Dragon.
Fuck no, dude. X-Man's good people. Shout out to you, Brother X.
And now, it says no reply to the YouTube. Motherfuckers.
I'm going on to our homepage on the Dragon to make sure he's not to see.
Okay, and I'm going to go send him a link, see if he wants to come in.
Thank you. Hey, Emil, can you do me a favor and shoot the link in the internal, please? If you don't mind. Yeah,
for the YouTube chat? Yeah.
No, not the YouTube chat. The link to get in here.
Okay, give me a second. Give me just a second. Nope, nope, that's not the one.
Got it.
Thank you, bro.
Thank you.
No problem.
Yeah, getting back to one point though, yeah, my whole idea is freedom of your right to do whatever the fuck makes you happy, right? So,
Yeah.
if it makes you happy, but don't infringe on me, you know what I mean? You can do whatever you want to do as long as it doesn't affect somebody else's right to do whatever the fuck they want. That's freedom right there. You know? So, if you guys want to make sweet, beautiful love in their bedroom, by all means, go right to it, but it shouldn't affect me.
Well, yeah, as long as you ain't hurting nobody, taking anything from anybody, right? And that's what I've always thought of America as, right? It really is. It's supposed to be a libertarian paradise, basically. If you ain't hurting anybody and you're not stealing or taking from somebody illegally, then you should be able to do whatever you want. You know, if you want to be a junkie and you want to shoot dope into your arm and you have a good job and you can pay your bills and all that shit, knock yourself the fuck out. If you want to fuck some dude's asshole, knock yourself out. If you fall in love with another man and you want to spend your life with another man, enjoy yourselves. You know?
Yeah.
No doubt. Just like me, I fell in love with a woman. I raised 4 kids. We do our best to enjoy ourselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know? And as long as you're not hurting anybody, it shouldn't be anybody else's business, right? But the same goes with religion. As long as, you know, any religion is okay with me as long as you're not trying to hurt anybody else.
Yep.
You know, because anybody who's intelligent enough to think for themselves will make decisions on their own. Right? So whether they believe in religion or not believe in religion, right? If they're intelligent, they can make those decisions for themselves.
Right, and if what your organization or your ideology offers people is really beneficial, then intelligent people will see that, and they will choose to follow that way of life. You know, they'll choose it because they'll see the benefit in it.
And there's a lot of people that do follow that, very intelligent people that are also very religious. And then there's also very intelligent people that have absolutely no desire to be religious at all.
And then there are educated people who are absolutely stupid.
Yes. Well, I didn't say. That's why I didn't equate it with education. Right? I equate it with intelligence because there's a difference between having an education to an intelligent person is a gigantic help, and they'll never talk about their education because they don't need to, right? But somebody who's who's basically a dumbass and somebody who can't think for themselves will always throw out their degrees first thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I have a master's in critical thinking from Fordham University.
I know a lot more people who are more intelligent by being self-taught than being going to any Ivy League school.
Right, and I've had it happen myself, right, where you're arguing with somebody and they're throwing out exactly Fordham, you know, they're throwing out, you know, huge degrees and stuff, and yet you're arguing with me, a simple blacktopper who finished high school.
Real quick, please. I have the block list in front of me on the Dragons page. And does Mr. Max X-Man, do you have another name? Does he have another name? What's his full
Not
name?
as far as I know. There's
What's his full name? Max Man Rules?
Mr. X-Men rules. Yeah.
He is not on the block list.
No, there should only be a couple people on there. It's not a big
Well,
one.
actually, there's more.
4?
Yeah, there's more. There's a total of 1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, I'll have to go in and look at it then because I know of only 2. But there's a bartender.
There's about 14 of them.
Oh, I'll definitely have to go in and look then.
Who the fuck is DJ?
Well, with so many bartenders, that's just once in a while.
Yeah, it can happen, and I'm sure that a couple of times, some troll would jump in with, some hate name or some hate bullshit, and somebody, the bartender on duty just blocked them. Boom.
Right.
Yeah, check the channel.
Well, I just went through the list, X-Man, and you are not blocked, my friend. And if you were, I would fucking unblock you in a second, because I know you're good people. But you are not blocked, X-Man, and you know I don't fuck around.
Surprised I'm not blocked.
I'm getting around.
No, you're not blocked. Just 10 round has a restraining order against you.
No, he doesn't. We're cool.
I know, I'm busting your chops, that's all. Because if we don't laugh at ourselves, who the hell's gonna? You know what I mean? Even in this, even here on this, when we're talking serious, you gotta, we are friends, and I do respect your opinion, and I like talking to you. So.
A rule that bartenders, if you block a hater or whatever while you're doing a chat with Mule not there, you know that you block somebody and why you blocked them, because if you don't, we have no idea. I don't block anybody as the dragon. I might be a bartender, but I don't do that shit. I block many people on my own account. On my own account.
But yeah, and that's different. When you come in as the bartender, it's not the only things that are blocked that are stuff in the dragon. If there's a and G's going over it right now. So.
Boy, Mama Franny, shout outs. And our prayers as always. Get better, Mama Franny. We love you. Get better.
If somebody's really trolling hardcore while Mule's not there, I don't see a problem with blocking the person then, but I would at least think that you should hey, I blocked this guy.
Right. And yeah, and that's probably what happened, and then you know how it happens. We all get caught up talking and shit, and you forget, everybody does.
Right? Big fuck pussies with the fuck assholes. Because assholes. Yeah, we just watched Team America, so.
Mud, why don't you come in, brother, and have a little chatty chat with us? Maybe we won't get so much lag in time. Mud said 5 seconds of chat, 20 seconds of lagging. Oh, that's my brother Mud. I love him.
Before the story Mule was talking about, my question is, can acceptance be forced on a society? If they're not ready to, I don't care if it's give up their firearms or change their beliefs about whatever issue it is, can it be dictated and forced on populations? Has that ever worked?
Well, it works on the level that everybody's afraid of saying their true belief, but their belief will still be the same. They just won't talk about it for the fear of being sued, fired, ruined life.
Easy, right.
Going on right now, and there's still going to be a lot of people out there that don't believe in it. They're just not going to say anything anymore. It's going to be the same. Right now it's the gay agenda, but they've been pushing the gun agenda pretty hard too. Don't think not coming after that one or any of the other ones. It's really the socialist agenda, not the gay and lesbian agenda.
So essentially, it's effective at modifying the behaviors of populations. Maybe not, it doesn't change their minds, their hearts and minds, but it sure changes their asses, huh?
Everybody's going to live in fear of being called or labeled, bigot, racist,
Oh, sure.
I mean, you already got people in New York who's all been out of shape because now they're trying to publicize everybody who has a concealed carry license or owns a gun. They're being put on the sex offender registry and shit. They're going to make it so that you're not proud of being a gun-toting American anymore. You're going to have your guns and they're safe, and the safe is you're not going to wear your Second Amendment T-shirts anymore, and you're going to kind of be a closet gun owner. Or closet, Fourth Amendment. Or they're going after them all eventually. Think like we do, or be ostracized and prepare to have your life ruined and your career gone. Oh, you still have the right to say it, though. We won't imprison you yet, but you're not going to have a job. You're not going to be able to provide for your family. Everywhere you go, you're going to be looked upon and judged.
Hey, G, how do you find out where the blocked list is?
Alright, this is what you do. Hold on, I still got it open. Alright, go to our page.
Right.
Are you on the page?
Yeah.
Alright, go to the left side and go to the people. When you get to the people, it's going to have up top where it says actions. Hit actions and scroll down to blocked.
All right, I got it. Thanks.
Done for. There's a lot of people on here that I'm going to let you deal with it because I have no fucking clue.
Yeah, a lot of these people are.
Should the second one be blocked? I thought the second one was good.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Yeah, and they're all actually those are all supposed to be blocked. I blocked most of these. So it turns out I blocked more people than I knew.
Okay, I thought the second one was cool.
Yeah, not so much. Almighty God 333, no. Blocked. Dragon Killer, blocked. Black.
Oh yeah, I know about the rest.
Hunter, blocked. But a lot of these people got blocked back on the CWW thing.
Right. Yeah, we're good. That's why next just to let you know, Brother Mule even looked at it. He double-checked me, and you are clear.
Well, no, I wanted to see if any of them were ones I didn't do, and it turns out I did most of these, and yeah. So, because the only one I didn't do is DJ Whore, and I'm pretty sure DJ did that when he was a bartender. But that's fine with me. Everybody else is pretty much mine. I stopped them because they're being dicks, or disrespectful or just hateful.
We don't need to explain it. They know why. Keep it moving. That's it.
But X-Men isn't blocked, so we should be good.
Dude. X-Men's good people, man. Must be the net, man. Gotta be.
Joel told Stan to get out of the country if he didn't like it. Hey, Joel, I hate to tell you, Stan's Canadian. They're already out of the country.
That's kind of funny, though. Come on. Yeah.
And we do talk to our brothers and sisters of the North, right? And we get along just fine when everybody's respectful.
Yep.
Right?
Always.
Stan and Biker Bob and a few others are respectful. Steve Charlton, whatever his name. I don't pronounce names correctly.
Yeah, Steve Charlton.
But there's plenty of people who live in Canada that are more than welcome in the Dragon because they're as respectful as everybody else, right? whether we disagree or whether we disagree. I mean, and we can disagree pretty hard. Look at what happened with me and General Banter the other night over on Matt's chat. You know, we disagreed real hard, but you know what? I like talking to the guy, and I respect him. Why? Because he's, first of all, willing to argue with me and back his shit up no matter what, right? What he believes, and we did it in a respectful way.
Dan thinks soon.
What's up, Tony? Tactical Tony, 702.
In the hezzy.
What up?
What up, gang? Stuff?
Yeah, man, you know me, all messed up as always.
Damn, dude, you're like not even first gear, dog.
You're like a 72 on 33.
Good lord, brother. He's like mother.
I just want to say, as for Canada, I like your women.
Yes, he does.
Very nice. I like.
Well, I guess I can let it slide since you're a pretty cool yank.
Hey, Chad, are you in Washington or Oregon? I couldn't remember.
Washington.
Oh, good. So what's up with your, I mean, you guys are going to the polls here in a minute, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And voting on a lot of things, but one of them is this conflicting bills that are up put to the people on firearms.
Yeah.
Explain a little bit to us about it, if you don't mind. If everybody doesn't mind me asking you.
Sure. It's clinically, it's what we certify as a clinical clusterfuck, because you got, what is it, 594 and 591, two bills that are being proposed, both of which are restraining in different ways. It's a shell game, you know. It's a shell game. That's all it is. One of them is got this set of certain rules that apply mostly to secondary firearm sales, meaning someone buys something off arms list or from their next door neighbor, they have to still take it down and make the transaction and transfer, add a FFL, yada yada, go through the background check, the whole nine that way. Same way with anything out of or these gun shows and stuff like that, which most of those are already like that anyway. But it's just a bunch of convoluted stuff. I listened to that thing that you sent, and I've also heard some stuff here on the local news about it. Of course, both sides pitching their, their agenda, and I don't like either one of it. I don't want any of it,
Yeah, me either. But I did listen to that debate, and that's why I sent it out for people to hear, because you got to hear the bullshit, because if you look at it in one way, you're like, oh, it's pro-gun against anti-gun, and it turns out no, they're both fucking anti-gun.
Exactly. And see, most people aren't supposed to see that. They're supposed to look at the guy that was on the left, who I did like, and he does seem to be fighting to keep firearms things, but what he's doing is begging for a different type of restriction that aren't in place now. Neither one of these are in place now. So you get to pick and choose. You're free to pick, do you want the yellow chains or do you want the blue chains?
Right. It's that lesser of two evil arguments. Oh, well, they're going to pass it one way or the other. I just hope people in Washington understand they can vote no on both.
You know what? I don't remember hearing either of those two people on that stage say that, but that's a damn good point. And that's what I'd be out there holding the sign up. Vote no on all of it. Screw it. No on everything.
Well, you know what, dude? You're a Twitter guy, right? And I'm sure there's people in your state that do that. You should start pushing that, especially for this agenda, because vote no on both. They both suck. Fuck them. Your laws are good enough. We don't need any more.
Right. Now, you said it's right around the corner. They're about to vote on this, though, aren't they?
November, what is it, 4th? 3rd, some shit like that.
So
5th?
We've got, 15 days or so. Yeah. That's plenty of time.
What?
Yeah. Oh, okay. That is worth doing. Because if you look up Twitter or Washington State, you see the first Twitter account that shows up on Washington State. It's not the news agency.
Yeah. But even though it's not the news agency, you know what? These days we are the news agency. So you go passing that shit around to people you know, and
Right.
even sharing it in internet cafes while you're having coffee. Get up that conversation and say, look, we can vote no on both.
Yeah.
Don't go out and not vote. Go out and vote no.
Yeah.
That way the numbers, the no's are up there, because that's half the problem, right? Because if nobody goes to the polls, then 2 yeses will pass something.
Yeah. That's true.
But if everybody goes and votes no on both propositions, then it's the people making a real statement that no, we don't want any of this bullshit.
And you sending me, that's the first I'd heard of it. I mean, I don't catch a lot of local news here anyway, but I do every once in a while, and I hadn't even heard about it yet, and here they're about to vote on it here soon. So it's like, oh, interesting.
That's where a unemployed old man with a computer is a dangerous fucking thing.
Well, I admit I am not even locally politically involved, educated, motivated. I mean, it's hard for me to even care about such things, but I do see that it's kind of surprising, bang, right there in my backyard, cropping up. Never even heard about it before.
Well, that's where it's dangerous and it really is a dangerous thing to let your local go by the wayside while you're trying to look. You get so caught up in looking at the big picture.
Right.
Right? That you get fucked over locally.
Yeah.
And even the international level, like the world level, you get caught up in what's going on with, with Russia and Africa, and you don't even pay attention to your local government. Like elections here, we've got a mayoral election going on at the end of the month, and I guarantee I could go out and talk to people, and half of them wouldn't even know that one was going on.
Yeah, and you're right. Most people are so disengaged, and they, they look at, just like we do, politics is for bottom feeders, right? Except that it's the bottom feeders that are making major decisions for everybody. So, and by us abdicating our responsibility of keeping our own checks on government, this is what we end up with, what we have here in the United States and all over the fucking world.
Yep. People become complacent.
And everything... Go ahead, G, sorry.
No. You finish. I was going to do a quick shout out after you get done.
Okay, well, I was just going to say everything's local, right? The local should matter more to you, and not bitching at you, Chad, but trying to wake you up to it, right? That the local should matter more than the national. Because, you know what? If it ends up coming down to whatever, shit hit the fan or revolution, you're going to be shooting local. You're not going to be shooting,
right,
national or international. So it's much better to know what's going on in your town, in your village, in your town, in your county, in your state. And if you can get involved in that, in starting at the bottom and working your way up and being involved in it, then you can actually possibly make some kind of a difference. Especially with the local, because the local only counts on the people around you. There's no electoral college for, sheriff of your county.
And just because you don't go into the political wing of it doesn't mean you can't be a community leader, like look at helping out social programs like food banks and stuff like that, and shelters that help out the needy. I mean,
not only that, but also more by just when you pay attention to the local and you're involved in the local, you can change your own quality of life in your area and for your neighbors. Like Sting did with his mayoral contact. How's that going, by the way, with the guy from Mesa? You're muted, Sting. You're muted, buddy. Sting, are you doing this on purpose? Because you're fucking muted.
Sorry. It was annoying while I wasn't talking. No, there wasn't anybody else running other than the one guy in the same thing. So they had what is that? state elections, what is that, primary, and he didn't get enough votes in the primary. But he didn't think he was going to either. He was just some no-name, average Joe citizen who wanted to say, hey, if I can do it, you can do it. So I guess he was just trying to make a point that anybody can run more than anything else. So,
Good.
he didn't.
Well, it's good that even and that's what it takes is being willing to participate in whatever way you can, from running for office to just paying attention to what's going on in office.
In fact, I would encourage any of us here that, if something in your town's fucked, and you think you can do it better, fucking try, man. That's all you got.
I think I could do it better. In fact, if I was really going to get involved, I would get involved to the point of not just trying to stop or, get people to vote no on these two bills, but taking it a step further in making initiatives to repeal some of these gun laws and to straighten some of this stuff up. I mean, locally, to where not only do we not want any new laws, but we want to propose something completely different that opens up these restrictions on gun laws as they are already.
You don't see that happening very often because a lot of these politicians, that's their job. That's the only skill they have. They go there as lawmakers and they think, well, I'm a lawmaker. I got to make laws. No, motherfucker. Take some off the books for crying out loud. Why is it that if you go to, I think it's dumlaws.com, we still have some of the stupidest laws on the book? Because nobody wants to be the lawmaker in D.C. that took a law off the books.
Well, okay, like I said, I mean, if I'm the type of person, if I'm going to get involved, I'll get involved. But I'm going to, I'm going to get involved, and I'm going to take it a step further than just trying to, get a no vote on shooting down these two bills. I mean, something needs to be done. It needs to go in the other direction. And I don't have any.
Start though, right?
What's the drinking word?
That's the start, right, Chad? Is you got to start somewhere, right? And
Yeah.
we can look at the big picture and say, oh, it's so overwhelming and so daunting that it can't be taken care of. Or you can look at this one issue and go, hey, I can do something on this, and then on the next one, and then on the next one, and on the next one. And yeah, I'd love, me, Sting, Reb, a bunch of us on the Dragon, and I think you were even there too, plenty of times, Chad, where we've talked about the best thing we could do would be to get congressmen and senators that are in there taking away laws, getting rid of stupid laws, spending their whole term up there cleaning up the over-bloated government we have and the over-bloated contradictory laws that we have.
Yeah, I don't need a political ad to say what you're gonna, what new law you're gonna put into Washington. How about somebody that did a political ad that said, if I get there, I'm taking away all this stupidity, and we're getting, take away laws. Man, I'd probably vote for that person depending on
And I'm of the mind where, why not just completely start from the bottom, go right back to your Second Amendment, and start from scratch, and then build wherever laws on top of that you need, or if any.
The original foundation of the entire Constitution. It was all about freedom and government in your life.
If I am capable of getting, calls into the Patty Murray's office, she's the governor, whatever they're called. But it is something local, and it is something that I feel like I could organize. And I do have a little time.
Sorry if I say a couple of shout-outs to everybody. Is it cool?
Oh yeah.
Thank you, brother. Shout-outs to Brother Brian Kai. What's happening? Tommy Boy. Brother Dooley. Dooley, I've been saying that for months, brother. I agree. Mutt, what's going on, brother? Brother Brown.
What Dooley say? I didn't catch Dooley's. What did he say?
Brother Dooley said what I said a couple of weeks ago on the Dragon. Why is it so important? What Mule and I were talking about a week ago. Why is it so important for one man to control another man's mind? I don't have to like anybody. Doesn't matter. Color, religion, sex. If their breath stinks, that's my natural right. I don't care what anybody believes. I don't care what anyone believes in. So why is it important for someone else to be so concerned about what I believe in or what I like? And I totally agree.
Yeah, and it's a control thing.
420, what's going on, brother Jim? You got a link, bro. I don't know why you're not in here. Brother Stan's in the house. JoJo, where you at, brother? You're supposed to kick it off with Bill and I tonight. I don't know where you at, JoJo. I hope you're okay, brother. Let's see who else is out there. Going. 10 rounder, what's going on, brother? Black Wolf, 357 mag. Thanks for watching. Southern Style, 357. Caregiver, J Watt. I think that Mike needs wonder what's going on, brother. Thank you for watching. And JQH and Curtin Forge. Thanks for watching, brother. Thank you for everyone watching. We got 30 viewers, 29 viewers, 40 likes. Not bad. Not bad. And like I said, I didn't really script it tonight. I just free for all. We haven't had a free for all in a while.
Well, no, and I know we were going to try and keep it light and airy or whatever, G.
That's what I try. I try to have a good time. Now you see the title. But like I said, hey, I'm not a fucking sheriff. I don't fucking run and control what people say and what they think or what they're thinking. I bring us all together and whatever you always want to talk about, I don't control that shit.
Well, I just ran across it today, right? That was new into my sphere of information, right? That they were even doing that, because it's just I couldn't imagine the kind of hellacious outpour of liberal angst that would happen if Houston was doing the same thing to the Muslims.
Right? I just do have a problem with the religious thing that Dooley said. I do have a problem with people, marching around and demanding other people to worship their God, and if not, fuck you, you're dead. Well, I do have a problem with that. So that's the only thing I have. I don't promote that shit. I don't, whatever you believe in, you can believe in. Just don't bring it to me.
Well, no, and you can talk about it, right?
That's why you never see me talk about religion, because I said it before, and I'm going to say it again. It's none of my business what anyone here or watching or anyone in the world what they believe in. That's your business.
Well, as a Christian, I've made that known before. As a Christian, if somebody wants to know more about it, I'm more than willing to tell them about it and what I believe in and all that. But I'm not actively going to go to Chad Lilly's house and try to convert him.
I just don't want anyone. And Chad made up a good point to me, and I talk to Chad every fucking day, and he's not what people think. I mean, he has studied a lot of religions, and by choice, by his right, he took. Well, actually, I shouldn't speak for him. Chad, if you're here, I'll let you say what you said. I don't want to.
Well, just before you go on there, G, I'm not going to let Chad stick his neck out alone. I share a lot of the same views Chad does. I mean, that doesn't mean that I don't get along with a lot of you guys, but I mean, same point. I understand where your religion comes from, and I don't want to stir the pot on that aspect because, I mean, that's your own personal belief, and
right.
I look at it.
There you go. I mean, many conversations with atheists all the time, and it's as long as it's respectful on both ends, I can talk about religion or not religion all day long. It's when one or the other, and I was using myself, but there's other religious people out there who are not that way, and I disagree with them too, because they can just be just as disrespectful as an atheist can be. But I'm just saying, either side, once it goes down that road, it's bad news.
Well, like I was saying about Chad whenever he comes back. Chad, are you there? Basically, he studied many religions, and he basically took out what he, a little bit of what he believed, and he formed his own thing. I mean, you can't argue about that. I mean,
I think that's what most people do, though, G.
Yeah,
I mean, I know.
when people get dogma.
And that's the thing for me. Like guys, I've seen good and bad in all religions. That's why I say I've seen good and bad in all races, religions, colors. There's, like I say, there's moderates and extremists to all different types.
Just because someone doesn't believe in what you believe in, they're not wrong. They're not a bad person.
Exactly.
Right.
That's all I'm saying. But I just don't promote the violence of it. I don't promote the fucking bullshit.
No, but in token, like, all religions throughout history have some form of violence in them.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I understand, maybe certain religions have developed past that to a certain degree, maybe not so much in out in the open, but we know what certain things that happen not so out in the open, especially what these suits are doing.
I just don't believe in a 5-month-old baby getting its skull crushed in because he doesn't believe Allah, or she may not believe their religion. That's my problem.
Out loud. That's disgusting.
Those are my problems.
Same way with that, that baby that got burned for a no-knock warrant because they thought, well, they got the wrong apartment for one, but I believe it was a drug no-knock warrant, right?
Just like Tactical Tony drove by last week, what did he tell us? All those people praying for Allah right in the middle of Vegas. Just like that. And we all know what they believe in. We all know their beliefs. We all know how they operate. I don't know. We all know, religion, I never want to think that religion would divide people, but it does.
Oh, yeah.
It's all division. It's all for the division. It's all to divide. And unfortunately, I hate to say that because you would think that religion would bring people together.
No, there's certain religious people, there's certain quote-unquote religious people, and there's certain religious quote-unquote organizations that do that. Now, if you ask me, what's the best way, if you believe in God, what's the best way for state to win? Well, to infiltrate a religious group or person and do evil shit in the name of good, in the name of God. That's the best. I don't know so many people I know that are atheists now used to be one form of religion or another. Actually, most of them used to be Jehovah's Witnesses as children. And a lot of them, a lot of evil shit was done to them in the name of God. And that, if you believe in God and Satan and the devil, that is a tool of the devil. And nowhere in the Bible does it condone that kind of shit.
Right. Amen.
You can make the Bible say whatever you want it to say.
Yep, just like you can make data say pretty much, or read pretty much the way you want it to. You can skew data. Read it the way you want. Everything's interpretable to a certain degree.
I'm just looking at the external chat.
Truth is, psychopaths can always justify their behavior.
Yeah.
And they don't always need a Bible to do it, but it does come in handy.
Chad, you're back. I was talking about you, of course.
Oh, I'm sorry. What was that?
Well, I was telling everyone how you and I do our daily thing, and how you were saying, gee, I've studied many, many, many religions, and you just took basically a piece of everyone's. You remember that conversation, Chad?
Yeah.
You mind telling everyone what the conversation we had and how you basically,
The short version of it is that I was just curious to know what exists. What do people believe? What are the available ideologies to choose from, and or at least the major ones. I mean, I don't know them all, but the major ones I did spend a lot of time studying to see what I saw in it. And after getting through all of them, including some of them that would be taboo, bad. um, Even after looking at those, I started seeing themes in it all. I mean, for instance, the same business training they gave me on how to deal with people, the same things they taught me in design school, were the same principles in witchcraft, the same elements that work in conjuring or whatever. Point is that after seeing all of them, I just came to my own conclusion that it's better off to be thinking for myself rather than listening to any of them, and that some of the things in some of them are useful and others are not. And that's where I, like everyone else, sort of cherry pick, but not from one book, from them all. For instance, the turn the other cheek thing, not so much.
Well, no, but I mean, I know for me at least, Chad, I'm with you in a lot of ways. I cherry pick, right? Because to me, right, the religion I learned and I studied, and I came to the conclusion that the reason why I consider myself a Christian, even though I'm not in any church, is because of what Jesus came here and did, right? He hung out with all what everybody else considered the scum of the earth, and talked to them about God's love, right, and the understanding of God, right? He didn't go up to the elites and talk to them. He didn't go find the Hollywood crowd of the biblical times to go preach to them and make them give money to him so he could have a crystal palace.
Right.
Homeboy was down. He was a carpenter who fished, and he was not just he was a dude. Right? He came down as a guy to hang out with everybody and to show everybody the light of God or your creator or whatever you want to choose to call what I call God, right? So that's why I believe I call myself a Christian, because I try and do my best to follow Christ's example. Nobody else after him, right? Everybody else after him is all secondary to me, right? To me, it really was about what Christ did, and when that's what mattered the most to me. But that's my cherry picking. Everybody cherry pick, like you said. Plenty of people cherry pick their own, and I don't follow any organized religion, because that's the danger I see. Once you start giving somebody control over you or space in between you and God, then they have, like priests in the Catholic Church, right, where you have to go confess your shit to a priest. Why? When you can just sit there on your knees when you're talking to God and confess it straight to him. But no, the Catholic Church put themselves a little middleman between people and God. The only middleman between people and God is supposed to be Jesus Christ.
Right. What Jesus preached was that the only way through is to his Father through him. He didn't say you had to go to church. The reason church is supposed to even be existing is for fellowship with fellow believers or non-believers or whatever. It's where you go to talk about him. It's not where you go to, be part of your team. Oh, I'm Team Catholic. I'm Team Mormon. I'm Team this and Team that, whatever. I go to church every Sunday or whatever, so therefore I'm going to heaven. No, you're not. The whole idea that Jesus preached was that you need to have a personal relationship with him and God in order to have that. You don't need a church. You don't need organized religion. You need the Bible and a relationship with Jesus and God, and that's it.
One of the things I liked about the Bible is Jesus. I actually, the words of Jesus, or the ones attributed to him, 90% of them, totally on board with. I mean, Jesus was revolutionary, especially in his time. Contrary to popular belief, it doesn't translate to carpenter. It's more architect, like a town designer type architect at that time. And his uncle Joseph was actually very wealthy and had ships and traveled to India for merchant trade and all kinds of stuff, which only very, very wealthy people could do, like royalty. But anyway, Jesus was very against all of that. He did talk to the Pharisees and the lawmakers and the people of that time, and he had nothing good to say to them. It was a big fuck you to all of them, including going into their temples and turning over their tables and actually whipping people, hitting them with a whip. I mean, so I like the guy. I mean, he was very revolutionary. He did not bow down to any of the edicts of his time, any of the Jewish customs. He disregarded all of that. Didn't care. It wasn't important to him, and it's one of the reasons he made enemies. So, in a lot of ways, I like the Jesus, the whole, the whole idea. Very revolutionary.
I can agree, and I'm a big fan of the JC myself.
Oh, and the love one another. By the way, love one another. Those 3 words. I don't care who really said it or who it's really attributed to. It doesn't matter to me. It does not change the fact that that is the wisest thing I've ever heard anywhere, in any book, of any idea or any ideology. Everything else you could throw away, every other book, every other Bible, even the rest of the Bible, and just to love one another. That's all that book should say. Love one another. And that would be the wisest thing I've ever heard.
I agree with you. Keep it simple.
So, dang, we ended up turning into a religious chat.
Oh, good
Not
time.
really,
Good
not really,
time.
though.
A healthy one.
Yeah, and not really, because seriously, the thing that started this whole first hour was my fault. Sorry, G. But
No, you're not be sorry.
it's not even the religious thing. It's the picking on one. America is supposed to be all inclusive as long as, again, it doesn't hurt anybody.
Right.
And just because I disagree with somebody and I don't like things they do doesn't mean I hate them. Everything isn't one extreme or the other. As human beings, we're complex. I can dislike a lot of things and yet still love them and deal with them on a daily basis.
Jesus said himself, well, I don't know if he said himself, but myself, it's love the sinner, hate the sin. I love everybody. I just don't like what you're doing. It doesn't mean that I'm going to, say you can't, because that's with you and the Creator.
Well, it just seems like it's like a constant power struggle,
Yeah.
And people are.
Well, now we're really getting into, because then you can get, drop all the religious stuff and just talk about the struggle between good and evil right now in our times. Most people say there is no real evil. Just like Sting pointed out before, what's the greatest thing the devil ever did was convince everybody there is no devil.
I think the biggest evil is the central banks. I honestly do. The biggest thing is the concept of money, and the way that they manipulate it.
What about all the oligarchs that these people are like manipulating? Oh, there goes another 10,000 people killed, and they're just sitting there sipping their wine, and you fucking bastards,
I personally think the greatest evil that I've seen in my lifetime on this planet has been the abdication of responsibilities for your actions. And with that, it's caused, at least in this country, the destruction of the family, the destruction of our sense of right and wrong, so much destruction. And it all stems down to this lack of anybody taking responsibility for their own actions. They feel that everything they do is okay. It doesn't matter how evil or wrong it is. It should be accepted and condoned. I mean, I listened to a story today of a teacher who admitted to having sex with 4 students under the age of 18. And this teacher's getting a pass. Right? They're not getting locked up and sent away. Right? Why? Because it's a woman doing it to boys.
Either way,
it's fucked and it's evil.
Yeah, it's a violation.
Now, are all of us going to go, well, is she hot? Oh, we lost Sting. Son of a bitch.
Sorry, he'll be back. He was like...
Yeah, his phone probably overheated.
Yeah.
He's getting his computer back tomorrow, so we'll have the old Sting back.
All right.
Dolly said, maybe if everybody would put more effort in fighting for freedom as they fight for their religion, the government would be screwed.
Yeah, that's true. But I think so many people are. I don't even think they A, know how to fight anymore, and B, they're so afraid that
Yep.
people are going to take what little they have left.
I don't think they know what to fight for anymore. Like there's just so many.
Oh,
Your head's spinning. There's so many headlines, and then it's like, what do I do? You know, what's going to hurt me the most? That's basically what they're focusing on.
It's not our fault, brother, that it's lagging. I understand it's bad, but believe me, there's no control. None of us have any control. So, sorry about the lagging, brother, but Google and YouTube have been fucking up, and you got to understand, we're talking. Everyone's 5, 6, 7,000 miles away, and
you know, it's funny because when we were talking about the gay agenda a while ago, there was some comments made about how this is going to move into bestiality and child loving, right? The whole child love thing, pedophilia. And I remember a lot of people were totally against it. No fucking way, that will never be cool. I just want, you know, these two men or these two women to be able to marry each other. I would never be okay with that. And all of a sudden, you're kind of seeing it, like what Mule was just talking about. These women teachers aren't getting in trouble. The men still are, right? If the men sexually assault somebody in their class, they're still getting in trouble. But as a society, we're now saying, well, come on, you know, the 15-year-old boy wanted it. He's not sad. He's not, you know, he's not abused
he's
because
bragging to the
having
friends.
a good old time.
And he's
Right.
bragging to his friends.
Right. Next, I swear to God, if this world lasts any much longer, you're going to start seeing bestiality being okay as long as it's a woman having sex with a male animal. And then that shit's eventually going to shift for everybody because, hey, we are a society where everybody's all-inclusive. If it's okay for a woman to have sex with a child, then it should be okay for a man to have sex with a child. And it's in little increments. It's very prolonged, but it's a long-term game. They're playing the long game. We're thinking next year, maybe 2 years in the future, where they're thinking a decade.
I don't think you can group the LGBT community with the pedophiles. Like that's two separate groups.
He's not grouping them, but what he's saying is it's incremental acclimation to fundamental changes in what's considered acceptable versus what's taboo.
Right, and then there comes a line where you got to say on each issue yes or no, and obviously that would be a no issue.
The only way I would ever group them is that they're both a behavior. It's not, to me anyway, right? That's my belief that it's a behavior. You're not born that way. It's something you choose to do. And that's just how I perceive that. Well, it's the same way as having sex with an animal or having sex with a child. It's a behavior. It's not. You're not born to want to have sex with a child. You know.
Would it be shocking if you came to find out that most of the world leaders are pedophiles?
No, I've actually known a little bit too much about that.
Okay.
Recently, with the whole child sex slave trade. Oh my God, dude!
Yeah, we've actually, you know, we're gonna talk about that. Where's my tinfoil hat?
Yeah, thanks a lot for that, Mule. Opening. I don't know if it was you or whatever, but since I've been on the Dragon, that's something I'd like to close my eyes back over.
Yeah, and I may be laughing, but I'm not trying to be funny because, you know, most people don't know the kind of depravity that our leaders are into, right? And anytime anybody tries to point it out, they instantly get marked as some conspiracy crank or nut job or whatever, right?
I don't think it's just world leaders. I think it's rich people in general, because when you have $1 billion and you've got, all the nice shit, what else left is there to do? Well, shit that's illegal. And you got enough money to make sure you can do that illegal thing without really fear of any kind of prosecution.
It's not the money that does that, Tim. That's what they are. The money enables it.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, it's
I
the
wouldn't.
corruption. Now, do some people start out that way? No, but do they all pretty much end up in the same place? I believe so, because once you know, it's not a lie. It's an old saying, but it's not a lie. That power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So if you're a multi-billionaire, top of the world, right, and you don't like guns, well, I can dump as much money as I want into an anti-gun campaign until I get what I want, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because my name's Bloomberg, and I make as much money as God, right? And it's the same thing. Well, you can have whatever little thing tweaks your fancy, and who knows where they're going to go once you start delving into that kind of corruption. You fulfill every cardinal desire you have to where it becomes so blasé, right? I mean, look at the freak show we have in society because shit did at one time. You know what? 100 years ago, everybody was happy fucking in the missionary position, and maybe I don't know how women felt about it, but guys got their nut off and they were done. They didn't have to turn into freaks, right? Now look at the world with porn and all the rest of the fucking blatant sexuality, right? It's people are fucking freaks, and they're fulfilling every cardinal desire that they have. And once you do that and you can't get off on what used to be considered freaky a year ago, now you're going to need to find some new freak to get you off.
Well, yeah, that goes into like porn addiction. A lot of people who get into actually addicted to porn, they start off with magazines when they were a kid, but nowadays you see a lot of child molesters and sexual predators now, and a lot of them have that experiences where it started out something simple like that, and it just progressed, and all of a sudden there's no more progression. It only gets so freaky until you gotta make it freakier.
Yeah. And
I just don't dig the animals. The animals is what gets me, dude. That shit's fucking raunchy.
Animals, children.
Yes.
There's a lot of things. You know what? I'm actually.
Oh yeah.
Just coming from the marriage standpoint of it, though, I mean, it can be a revitalizer in a marriage, especially if
Oh, I'm not saying I ain't got my own little freak stuff, right? Me and the wife don't do the missionary position anymore. It doesn't do shit for either one of us.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it does help in a way where you can actually explore, be able to explore as a couple, and
well, and that's where growing up in the Christian faith, it says and I remember when I got married, I was told by my biker preacher, my black biker preacher, by the way, who married me, to let everybody know where I don't know where the hell my Klan costume was, I guess, that day.
Well, don't you know that by you saying you had a black preacher that makes you racist because you're
of course he does,
overcompensating?
but he's also a biker, and we were anyway, I don't even want to get into it. But right, he told me all things are good in the marriage bed. And that was all I needed to hear. Once I got married, I mean, all thing was good beforehand, but I was a sinner saved by grace, right? So now, and once I got married, I had to explain to her that, all things are good. So, guess what, baby? All things are good. We need to go talk right now.
yeah.
Okay, that's enough of that.
I know.
I don't even know about Mill's freakness.
Yeah, he's actively not listening, has his hands over his ears, and about to start la-la-lying.
Do we choose our sexuality?
I don't think so.
I don't know. I think we as human beings you can be attracted to something that, like any desire. You don't have to fulfill a desire if you understand that it may be wrong. Now, whether it's wrong or not, right? Like homosexuality, if you're attracted to dudes and you like, okay, whatever, but, that's your thing, right? Or girls being attracted to girls, right? Let's talk about that when I feel more comfortable.
I've just talked to too many that it's natural for them.
Maybe let me rephrase the question. Did you choose your sexuality?
No.
Yeah, me neither.
I think
See,
I
I just
automatically gravitated towards females.
Exactly. I saw boobs and say, yeah, I like those.
I
Yeah,
saw
You know why?
Eddie's nudie mags when I was about 5 and just went,
Point is that none of us chose our sexuality. I don't know anyone who does.
Okay. With that point right there, you're saying they're born that way. Okay, well, a pedophile then he's born that way. A person who
So
wants
are
to have sex with
psychopaths.
animals, they're
So
born that way. So obviously, gays have the right to be married and they should, live in whatever because they were born that way. Well, then why should you allow a pedophile to sleep with children? He was born that way. For an animal, bestiality was born that way. It opens up a door.
not consensual because they're harming somebody at that point. Two
They're
adult
born.
men, two adult men or two adult females, they can consent and they can do it. They're adults. So
And that's why I'm cool with it, right? Because you're right. They are consenting adults, and that's fine. I'm totally cool with that. As I said before,
no, that's obviously a no-go because they're not fully developed to an adult yet.
all I'm saying is it opens a door, right? He was born that way, so therefore that's how he should be allowed to be because that's who he is or she is. As far as homosexuals, if they want to do whatever they want to do, as I said before, totally down with that. You do what you do. It doesn't affect me. That's fine. Or somebody else, somebody else's right. But who's to say an animal has a right?
Animal rights activist. I'm a hard no. I deal with animal rights activists all the time.
All right.
My friends harp on me for hunting, but I mean, it is what it is. I believe what I believe in.
psychopaths are born that way. They didn't choose to be psychopaths. They're literally born that way. Their brains are formed that way at birth. They have no centers for empathy. They're not like us. They look like us, but they're not like us. They do not have the capacity to feel empathy.
Yeah.
And there's something that's had to happen to them at a young age for them to be
No,
like
not
that.
necessarily. Sometimes the brain is just formed that way, and that is just what they are. I mean,
Right.
that is all any of us are, is what we are because of our brain, our past environment, and our choices to the experiences we've had. That's what made us in this moment now, is every moment before and your choice to it. So, my point is that these things are born, and I call them things because psychopaths, while they may be running the world at this point, and the world is designed in their favor, they're still psychopaths, and they are born that way. And it's causing all the rest of the problems for the rest of the world, because you're talking about a very small group of people here.
Yeah, and a high percentage of them are CEOs.
Yes, the world is set up in their favor, thus they excel. The good person gets stepped on, good nice guy finishes last, all that stuff is because the world is set up to favor the ruthless, step on somebody's neck to get to the next meeting if they have to. But that's how you win, and that's why they are CEOs of, making $1 million an hour, and the nice guys aren't.
They'll set somebody up to fail just so that they look better, and they have no qualms or quarters about it.
Not at all, because they have no ability to feel empathy of what that's like. They'll slaughter as many people as it takes to get the job done and not even think about it whatsoever at night, sleep like a baby. And they say, how would you sleep? Well, that's because you have a conscience. Yeah, it would bother you. These people would never give it a second thought, not in 100 lifetimes. They're not like us.
Yep, and they're usually, they usually start in HR where they're the ones who have no problems firing people.
Yeah, and they excel at that. Again, and they're also good in combat, by the way, because anxiety and overwhelming stresses and craziness that would disable normal people, well, they thrive in that environment. They get a thrill out of it. They don't even care about the danger. It's not that they don't know about the danger. They totally do. They just don't care.
They're actually feeling something for once.
Yeah, but they just don't care if they're blown apart. It doesn't really matter to them. They don't have the ability to feel that that's going to impact them at all. More or less you. They're not like us. And they are born that way. They didn't choose to be this way. These kids cut up animals. They do start with pornography a lot of times as a thrill, just because it's the first
Hold on
taboo
a second, though. Hold on a second now. You know, because I was diagnosed as a sociopath.
Sociopath is not a psychopath, Mule. Sociopath means you're intelligent, you're capable, you're willing to bend the rules to get the job done, you're willing to do what it takes, you're pragmatic in your approach, and you're a bit ruthless. You'll use your intelligence to get what you want. It doesn't mean you're a killer. Like I said, that's why these people are good in a suit and tie.
It also talks about how, you know, somebody who's diagnosed that now was long ago as a kid, you know, and they have zero empathy, right? But you can learn it. You can, with, you know, people can make themselves change if they want to. You make the decision whether to fulfill that carnal desire, be it for a dude's butthole or somebody's neck, right? In your teeth as you're gnashing it apart because they pissed you off so much, right? Which is one of my cardinal desires that I control every single fucking day.
So you're saying it's more of a nurture thing where your environment and what you were raised?
No, sociopaths have empathy, psychopaths don't. That's the step that makes them different.
Oh, well, I must have read the wrong journal then.
Well, I mean, look anywhere you can find it. I mean, look at the difference between what's clinically called sociopaths or sociopathy versus psychopathy. It's just another level on the scale, is all it is.
Yeah, and the scale's changed a few times since the 80s.
That's true too. That is totally true. What we used to consider one is now become the other. Yeah, that it has changed, but there's a scale, and at the very end of the scale is psychopathy, to where you have no empathy towards other people at all.
Because they've added things like depression and certain things that have come up in clinical psychology. It's been recent.
Yoli had a quick question for us. He said maybe you guys can answer this. Who came first, Adam and Eve or the caveman?
According to the Dead Sea Scrolls, it was Adam and Lilith first, but that didn't work out so well.
Right, which is where, anyway, yeah. I mean, there's all kinds of mythology that go back to it, or scripture, depending upon your outlook on it. Right?
Oh,
So it's all interesting to me. So
get into that Anunnaki stuff, then I guess you had the cavemen, and then the extraterrestrials manipulated the caveman into Adam and Eve.
Right. But we've gone that route too, isn't that how we ended up on like a real horrible chat one time because we started out with like aliens and stuff? It was awesome. Yeah, which is what, and let me tell the people that have not been with us the whole gamut of the dragon, right? It took us a long time to stop. First of all, to start shutting up and listening to each other, right? And B, to finally get to the place where we can sit and have conversations that at other, you know, a year ago probably would have gotten us yelling at each other for the next 3 hours.
Yeah. Yep. And people learn tolerance over time of certain things, like certain things sink into your head, like, yeah, you know what? And I'll even admit it, I'm wrong on a lot of shit, obviously. Like, we're not perfect, so.
And full disclosure, I'm drinking 100 proof vodka, so what's that tell you?
Wow.
Well, I'm smoking my last little bud, so.
Heard that?
Green, gold, and glorious.
Hell yeah.
This is me belligerently drunk.
No, you're not singing Danny Boy and then some U2 and then some Horse Lips, so you can't be too drunk yet.
Does alcohol work on viruses? I don't know, like it does bacteria. It's Ebola preventative. You just stay roaring drunk.
You just pickle your.
That would be strain specific, and in some things, yeast and all that stuff, yeah, it would actually grow faster. And other things, it might actually smother. Depends on what it is.
I had heard a thing when they first started talking about Ebola, right? How smoking may actually help if it ends up airborne.
My wife actually had gotten, when we first quit smoking, she developed a pain in her lung and went to the doctor about it and kind of worried, my lung cancer or whatever. And they found that, I don't remember what they called it, pleurisy? That she had something called pleurisy. Google it if you don't know what it is. And that the smoking kept it at bay.
Right.
But when she quit smoking, it allowed it to grow a little bit to where it started bothering her, and it just had to work its way out, I guess. She's okay now, but it was kind of funny, like smoking helped her out all them years and didn't know it.
Right. Well, I mean, I laughed because I was telling the wife about it, and because you can find the reports out there by Israel, who's the only one who's doing the real studies in THC and marijuana in the medical field, right? And they're saying that it may end up having the cure for Alzheimer's disease, right?
I don't know if you guys have, know anybody who has Alzheimer's, but another one was nicotine. That they're giving Alzheimer's patients now nicotine patches. They're calling it something else, but it's basically a nicotine patch, and that helps with the symptoms of Alzheimer's.
Well, I do know there's a lot more hanky-panky going on in old age homes now that the little blue pills come in.
But it's just funny that I mean, what was it? Me and Reb were talking about it, I think, the other day, about how it turns out trans fats are not as bad for you as they've always claimed. How this new you need to be gluten free. Well, it turns out no, your body's supposed to make gluten. And some things just make gluten, right? So so all the shit that they've been trying to tell you is wrong for years, right? Turns out to be not so bad. And same with medicines, right? It turns out holistic medicines are better for you than all these chemicals we've been putting into our body and into our oceans and into our, everything.
Not to mention the pollution that they create when they actually create those medicines.
Not to mention the profit margin for Merrick and Eli Lilly.
Well, that's what it always comes down to, right? Nobody, and Jim, you can attest to this. You've been a pot activist for fucking longer than some of the guys who listen to the Dragon's been alive, right? And it all was about money. The whole reason why they outlawed hemp and cannabis. Cannabis was more of the control with the Mexican thing, but the hemp was because of the cotton industry and the paper industry and DuPont chemicals and
the textiles.
Yeah.
I remember we had a big area here that was run on all that hemp industry textiles, and then when they closed it down, it was shipped overseas.
But now you guys should be getting it back, right?
Oh no, this was back in
during
the 20s or 30s when they first outlawed marijuana and that.
Yeah.
When Reefer Madness and that came out.
Yeah, but you guys, we're still fighting to get what you guys have in Canada where hemp is legal. And I'm not talking about, the get high. I'm talking about the make your clothes and
recently
awesome product.
As far as a commodity, I do believe that they're starting to make crops of it,
Oh, yeah, they've been actually doing it in Canada for about 5 years, I think. More, maybe. But, yeah, it turns out it's one of the number one cash crops in Canada is just industrial hemp.
Yep. Yeah, and that was a lot like the cotton industry as well.
Oh yeah, cotton hates industrial hemp. The paper industry hates industrial hemp. Any kind of wood product can be made with hemp, right? And it doesn't destroy the land as much, and it's actually you can grow more of it. In a much shorter time, right? The oil industry hates it. The plastics industry hate it. Hence DuPont. DuPont hated that shit because just about everything you can make from a petroleum product, you can make from a hemp seed product, right? So, including fuel to run our cars. And, most people don't realize that one of the first cars that Henry Ford designed was a hemp car. A car that ran on hemp fuel, and most of its like door panels, wherever there was a wood product and a lot of metal products, it was made with the plastics from hemp seed, and
the first linoleums, weren't they?
Yeah, it's really, and that was all done for profit, right? So to doubt that they're poisoning us for profit,
Yeah, one of the latest weird things I read about a week ago about something called supercapacitors and the electrodes that we're kind of making them out of graphene, or graphene's like a structure of all the carbon atoms are laid out like in a sheet in one single layer kind of thing. Well, they take part of the hemp plant, somehow heat it and add some chemicals to it and heat it some more, and all that's left is just carbon, and it's like sheets of carbon, kind of like the graphene molecule, but instead of being perfectly flat, it's kind of rippled more like sheets or a curtain or something like that. And it has a similar or better electrical properties than graphene. So it's just amazing that they're discovering something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, some of the basic stuff that we were working with before, if we would have stuck with it, we would have been much miles ahead of where we are.
So maybe your future firearm would have hemp graphene like sheets of polymer material. So it's a hemp gun.
Well, hemp polymer would be stronger than whatever polymers on my clock.
I don't know the structure. Yeah, just such an amazingly versatile plant.
And then I was listening to Coast AM a couple nights ago. They had a segment on DMT, and I guess just like cannabis, your body actually produces small amounts of DMT, which serves some function. What it is, I don't know. But
Well, when you sleep, when you dream, there's a couple of drops of what is equivalent to DMT that comes out of our own brain. And when you get those few drops, that's in the few seconds that you actually have what we call dreams.
REM sleep.
Yeah, so it doesn't, our brains naturally produce it, but DMT is something that's fascinating to me because you could take people from any different belief, any different part of the world, they don't have to speak the same language, and you can put them in the same room, give them all the same dose of DMT, and they'll all see the same thing.
back to the praying mantis or whatever it is.
Yeah. So what is that? Why doesn't the Buddha see Buddha? Why didn't the Christians see Jesus? Why don't people see their own belief systems if whatever's going on in a DMT trip is just stuff out of our own subconscious? Then why don't people see things that fit their belief systems? Why do they all see the same reality when they go there?
Yeah, that's
Some sort of common wiring in the software, or the collective consciousness, or whatever you want to call it.
yeah, but has everybody in the world even seen a praying mantis in order to know what it looks like?
What was that?
Has everybody that takes this, have they even seen a praying mantis to know what one looks like in order to see it?
It's not that they're the people who know what a praying mantis looks like. Yes, say that the creatures they interact with, who teach them how the universe works, looks like a 12-foot tall praying mantis type creature.
Right.
Someone who lives in the jungle, they might say something like that. I don't know their language.
It all translates to the same thing, though?
Well, it's just whatever you see that is a frame of reference you can describe it as. But yes, people who speak English and who know what a praying mantis looks like, they all come back and say, yeah, there's a bunch of 12-foot, 14-foot tall creatures that are older than anything we can imagine, and they all tell them the same story. And that right there has got my attention, because now we're beyond belief. Now we're beyond what we think and all that fun stuff. Now we're into something that's real, that's the same, a consensus of reality among people from all over the world. How could that be? There's got to be something solid there, or something, I'm going to say, real to it, because everyone's experiencing the same type of stuff. And it's not war or some craziness or some hell. No, I've never heard of anyone having a quote-unquote bad trip on DMT. I'm sure it's happened. I'm sure it could happen, but I've never heard of it. I've always heard the stories. They come back with some enlightened Bill Hicks. Many people, anybody who's ever did it, comes back from it an entirely new person with a perspective of the world from whatever these things have told them. You know, it really changes them, and to me, that's fascinating. It should be required learning. By 12th grade, there should be a DMT class. You know.
But right there, getting that.
Or give it to me. I'll take it, and I'll come back and tell you what the fuck. You know? Like Jodie Foster said, they should have sent a poet. Well, I'll go. Fucking send me.
Yeah, I don't remember who it was that said it, but it was like, there's a time and place for drugs, and it's called college or something like that.
No, I can't say I agree with that.
And then you continue studying, yeah.
Life is an advanced study. It's a PhD in being alive. And every day's a test. I hope you brought your pencil.
Yeah, because in life there is no erasers.
It's kind of weird to hear about these different reincarnation stories where the children identify their murderer.
Yeah, and there was the one. He remembered being a World War II pilot or something like that. Vietnam pilot.
Well, they're starting to have 9/11 children showing up. People that claim they've died in 9/11s. I don't know. That would be a strange case to take to court, to have a child testify about something that happened in their past life, and whether or not the court had accepted as a valid witness.
How would one go about documenting that?
Yeah, it's just the only way is to be able to have knowledge of facts that can be verified through further investigation, I guess.
Right. Things
like saying, you're going to find my body here, and you're going to find that I was killed by this, and then you're going to find the fingerprints of so-and-so on the murder weapon that was buried with me, and that kind of thing, yeah?
Right. Now, that's what the Dalai Lama, every time the Dalai Lama supposedly reincarnates, that's what goes on there. There's a test that the monks give that supposedly verifies whether or not, who is the reincarnation of the Dalai Lama.
Whoever picks his object.
Right. You kind of some kind of weird, strange question, like, what is the name of your pet mouse? Bob. Okay. Yeah, that whole idea about life outside, extraterrestrial life, I was just like, the odds have got to be pretty damn good for it to be there,
I have not seen it for myself, but I would feel that the percentages are extremely high, up in the 90-something percent, that it is documented at this point with all the stuff we've seen. And I still haven't heard anything from anyone about the Jerusalem event, the UFO event that was captured from 4 or 5 different angles.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, is that not the most high-profile and most well-documented UFO case that we've got at this point?
Pretty much, but then nobody's going to come out and officially say anything.
Well, I guess that was my point. Why have we never heard officially a word? Again, I mean, this was documented from many different angles, from different people, from different countries, as it was. So, what the hell? I mean, clearly something was there. That wasn't a stunt. You
Yeah,
know, it was
the official response. I mean, they not what can they say? They can't say it's their secret weapon. And if it really is aliens and they know about it, obviously they can't admit to that. So they just basically just say we don't know what the fuck it is. You know?
I
But
think
at least that would be a statement. I can't
Yeah.
recall there ever being any statement from anybody, any government agency, or anyone saying, okay, you know, this is our statement. We don't know what it is.
you got to
Nobody
look.
said shit.
You got to look at it from a control standpoint. If they relinquish that information, people understand that okay, maybe we do have other races from other galaxies here. Then one, we've been lied to for all this time, and two, a lot of people are going to doubt religion and government and everything else, and it's going to be chaos.
Ding, 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 ding. Tell him what he's won, Johnny. Exactly. Exactly. But if anybody out there listening, if you haven't personally seen the Dome of the Rock UFO thing, just put that in YouTube and you'll get a zillion videos on it from all different angles. In fact, more people have even come forward the last time I looked, presenting evidence from wherever they were, if they had captured it as well. But it's just something that to me is verifiable, is one of those pieces of evidence that there's something else going on. And even if it is our stuff, well, okay, then they're still doing things they're not telling us.
Yeah, because that's, and I've seen it from a few different angles, and for that many people to get it at the same time from different angles like that, seeing the way it is and how it reacts, is just it just defies physics.
Sure, exactly. Yeah, there's clearly something else here with us. We don't know what it is. We don't know anything other than we know at this point there's something else here with us.
No, it's just kind of like that show. I don't know, was it Magic Kingdom or whatever? You know, they're hiding behind the blinds and they're like, "Shh, we don't want the animals to know we're here. We don't want, you know, like the Star Trek non-interference type thing." You know, it's like the aliens are like up there. Oh, come on, don't let them know we're here.
Well, look at them showing whatever that was. I mean, clearly it knows it's being observed. You see what I'm saying? I mean, it looks like to me it was doing a display, a dance, saying, "Hey, look at me."
Maybe that's what's going to have to happen. Is if there's going to be disclosure, the aliens got to do it because our leaders won't let it happen otherwise.
Yeah, well, I listened to a radio show last night. That show would remain nameless, but there was a guy on there who was saying that that's basically the point that we're coming to, and that's why we're at this chaos moment. Is the government's been warned by the species that if they don't soon reveal to the public that they're here, then they're going to do it themselves. Now, whatever truth there is to that, I don't know. But
Okay, now first of all, you've seen the Prime Minister of, I think, Canada, the former Prime Minister of Canada, the footage on YouTube of him coming out saying, "Yes, let me be the first person of the government to say,
former
yes,
defense minister.
Defense Minister?"
Yeah, former defense minister. Yeah, I've watched
So
it.
you know the video. Okay, so is that valid in your opinion?
I believe so, but do I believe that people have political agendas too? Do I have to look into that aspect? Absolutely.
Okay, I mean, because he seems sincere to me. I don't see how he's benefiting by standing up and doing this, but
And I saw where he also went to that summit there in Columbus, I think it was, where they did the pseudo hearing.
the point is they did in my mind, they did an informal announcement on the inner circles that, yeah, okay, look, you know, here's the real. Okay, so they did that, but they have not had the talking heads on TV come out and tell the people out in the pasture, you know, hey, look, here's what's up.
Yeah. Well, they deem us too much like children still, right?
Aren't we?
Well, some, I guess, but not more and more, not so much.
Don't we still believe in fairy tales? Somebody's trying to wake us up and quick. And again, back to that DMT thing. I mean, I don't know about y'all, but to me, that's fascinating because whatever's going on there is beyond mere subconscious chatter or ideologies and beliefs and drug-induced coma or some shit. There's something totally else going on there, especially when you consider this is a natural substance that occurs on the planet. And if you've never heard it, Joe Rogan, I think, in my mind, I want to credit him with this whole thing, but it might be wrong. But the idea that originally these apes coming along, maybe it was Bill Hicks. I can't remember now. It's probably Bill Hicks. But anyway, the theory that these apes or monkeys would have been on the ground and would have eventually come into these flowers that have DMT in, and they would eventually eat them, and that would have changed a lot of stuff, you know. But if you've never looked into it, search, see some videos. By the way, this stuff lasts about 15 minutes. It's not an 8-hour acid trip. It's a 15-minute experience, and then when you come back, you're right back here. No trace of a hangover or anything like that.
Yeah, the businessman's trip. And then you just do that on their lunch break and back at it.
Maybe they are. I don't know. I'm not one of them. But I know I would sign up for that right now. And I wish I didn't have to go to Bolivia or some place like that to experience it.
Yeah, there are a lot of plant species, I guess, that DMT can be found in. It's the difficulty of extracting it.
Well, the difficulty inside the United States is even obtaining it, as far as I know.
Yeah, just go to the Dead concert. I don't know. I haven't heard much. Are there still Dead tours going on? I mean, concert series and
That's
things?
a good question. I couldn't tell you.
So there's something that's evolved out of it, huh?
Really?
But now peyote, that's kind of a little different story than DMT. It's a little longer lasting trip.
Yeah, that's more of a.
Or like shrooms, right? Lasts a while. But,
Right.
But that still doesn't go away after a while. I mean, you don't have your teeth grinding a week later when you think about your buzz.
More importantly, people on peyote experience whatever they experience, just like people on acid in the same room can have vastly different experiences. Whereas, again, that everyone taking DMT and having the same experience or the similar experience of encountering the same type of beings who explain secrets of the universe to them, well, whatever that is, sign me up.
Yeah, it would be pretty trippy if they had a class in high school that once a week they did DMT. You had to write a paper on what you experienced.
Well, maybe that's how they once had the Library of Alexandria.
Yeah, drug usage is, it's amazing how they find, like in China, 3,000-year-old marijuana samples that are still smokable.
Or trace elements of cocaine and whatever other drugs of the time in these mummies, in their bodies still.
And that's the other thing. It's kind of weird too. If South America is the only place in the world where cocaine can be produced, and the Egyptians, of course, had intercontinental travel or transport to get it there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even there, like when they use it, they don't use the produced stuff that's sold over here. They just take a leaf and chew on it. They don't.
That's true. It's not a refined product generally, the natives anyway.
Yeah.
That's another sign of prohibition. Through the prohibition, you try to concentrate whatever it is you're trying to move that's prohibited, so make it easier to handle and get more value for it.
Like, I mean, it used to originally be the product in certain software. So.
And by the way, the fact that we have these pyramids here, that should be a sign of other intelligent life besides us in the universe already. That should be a real big clue.
Yeah, as far as technology, I mean, that would beat out anything that we have today, even.
We still can't reproduce it. And it's not just the size, it's not just that it would take to build it in the time frame that they were supposedly built. It's not that you'd have to put a stone in place perfectly every 8 minutes with no mistakes. It's not even that that makes it miraculous. It's the mathematical codes that are built into these structures. It is amazing. Every secret of the universe is built into the structure, but by the mathematical calculations that are in it. It gives you pi. It gives you all these different equations just because of the way it's built.
And it sits perfectly on ley lines with other structures.
Right. The mere fact that these are even here is, to my mind, a proof, a very solid, big, visible proof that something else is here with us. Because we did not do this. We cannot do this today. And if you're dumb enough to think people did this with ropes, all you gotta do, don't give me a theory, just show me how you got the top one up there with the rope. I'll wait.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things you're just starting to discover research with. Is like using sound waves to levitate objects.
Which is what Casey said how they did it, by the way. So mark another one up for Casey.
Basically, if you can float the thing off the ground, all you gotta do is have to be able to give it a shove and get it to move.
Exactly.
Don't be under it. Just don't be under it when the chanting stops.
But here's the other thing. There's big obelisks that are still sitting on the side of mountains that got broke, and so they were just left there. And they've been cut away from the mountain. So they've also had some way of cutting, just walking up to a mountain and cutting a 30-foot by 20-foot. We can't hear you.
Doctor Who's sonic screwdriver,
Whatever, they had it because these blocks were left because they broke. They left them in the side of the mountains and went and cut another one. So
damn it, fucked up another one.
My question is, how do you pull a 200-ton block? Who goes underneath there with the chisel tool and cuts away the bottom out of the mountain? How do they get that part out? They did it with perfection over and over and over. And put those stones in place every 8 minutes perfectly to build each one in 20 years, if that's true. But it didn't matter. It didn't matter if we had 100 years. We can't build them today to this precision, more or less encode the secrets of the universe, or at least the secrets of mathematics, and how.
And then, of course, what is the purpose to these structures? Some talk about how it might be electric power generation with supposedly above the king's chambers. There's a certain kind of pink quartz or something like that. It has a resonance frequency that acts like a piezoelectric crystal. It generates a voltage. So they just go in there and start chanting, and the thing will start vibrating and produce electricity.
Could very well be. I mean, the pyramids that are on Mars, what do they do? And did we build those with ropes too?
No,
How about
they
the
did.
ones on Europa? Did we build those with ropes too?
If they made them out of ropes, hopefully it was hemp rope.
I'm just curious because there's these pyramids all over the place, and I'm just wondering if we built those with ropes too.
They're coming up with some strange pictures from Mars. So there's weird things that they keep finding in the photos.
Yeah, but so many go missing all the time.
Yeah, and that's just what they're showing us. Go watch any of the STS footage of I can't remember which mission it was. I mean, all of them have them. But any of the STS missions, they're even available on YouTube. And you can look through the camera lens for yourself and just watch, I don't know, 500, 600, maybe 1,000 different objects flying around, back and forth, zooming. Some of them come to a complete stop, change direction, zoom out the other direction. apparently whatever these things are, they like electricity, they like the storms, they like suns, they fly right into suns and recharge and come out the other side. They come to Earth and they're drawn to electrical storms, they know where the activity is going to be. It's like they're recharging their crafts. But you can go watch this stuff. Hours, hundreds of hours of footage, you can just watch it. You can see thousands of objects just flying around. It's like you're in the sea watching little minnows of life fly around. That's what outer space looks like.
Yeah, there's no official acknowledgement or explanation for it, which is
Not at all. They don't say a
not
word about it. They put the footage out. They don't say a word. Even when the
it's
tether,
just ice crystals or something.
As long as you ignore it, it'll go away, right?
even when the tether broke off, and there's footage of this miles and miles and miles long cable they had tethered out using it for something. It broke off, and the shit starts floating away. And so they're filming it. And this miles and miles long cable, I mean, so you got a point of reference for how big these things must be. They're flying around it. I mean, over and over, just wondering what it is, looking at it, you know, some crazy new thing moving through the, you know, through space. They're checking it out. And even the cameraman acknowledges it. But you just have to see that stuff for yourself to realize we're not by far. We're not the only ones here, and we're damn sure not the worst ones here.
Yeah, they got that thing that's going to land on a comet here pretty soon. That could be kind of interesting to watch. Even they find a weird pyramid-shaped boulders on the comet, too.
I doubt that. They'll probably just find ice and rock and microbes.
Well, you know we're in bad shape when they're actually hunting for resources in space.
No, it's just capitalism, I guess, you know. But the question is, how's it going to run? Is it be just like working for the company camp or whatever, you know, you're a peon.
But it's also like mining ore out of the ground, except for you're mining it out of space because you're capturing it in these big-ass rocks that are flying by. And if you were able to capture one of those and bring it to Earth, and it would just be like mining ore, you know, except for instead of having a finite space in the ground to mine from, space is infinite, and the shit's flying by all the time.
There's nothing wrong with the concept of harvesting the materials from outer space. Just think of the scale things. If things can become more robotic, how they can build huge structures just in no time, you know, little resources.
Right.
There's a thing called the Dyson sphere where they supposedly were to make a globe about about the orbit of Earth and stuff like that that totally encompasses the sun. So they're like extracting all the radiated energy from the sun and using it for something, you know.
My thing is, I don't understand why all governments don't just come out and say, hey, look, this is what we know. This is where we're at.
Yeah.
I don't think it would cause panic. I'm not buying that people can't handle it, blah, blah, blah. I don't get that. Most people, and I'm talking upwards of 60-something%, already acknowledge the fact that there's something here. They don't know what it is, but there's enough evidence, you know, out there already, and more is collected every day that, yeah, something's out there. So I don't understand what they're waiting on.
And who's to say that they don't have a religion of their own? You know, it's or a non-religion or what have you. You know, we won't know until we actually know, until we were able to learn about them. And
Right.
that's the thing. Like, holding it back just makes it look like it's a dirty secret where it doesn't have to be.
I cannot recall his name. It'll come to me in just a second. A one-armed farmer in Switzerland, Billy Myers, took all the photos of these UFOs. Anybody out there who has never heard of Billy Myers and hasn't seen the actual photos, don't try to go to all the people who's trying to disprove his photos, because no forensic scientist has ever been able to do it. So of course everybody on the internet wants to be the first. But go to the actual photos and look at them for yourself. Make up your own mind. And there's not just one or two. There's over 15,000 of them. And if those aren't crystal clear, because he was a professional photographer, if those aren't crystal clear enough for you, then look at some of his 8mm video that he captured and see what you think about that. But anyway, Billy also talked to them, and these were supposedly beings from the Pleiadians, wherever. And he asked them about God. What are your thoughts on God? What's your religion there? And they didn't know what he meant. They didn't understand the concept of a God. They didn't get it. They didn't have it.
Of a higher being.
Well, they just didn't know anything. In their travels, they've never came across anything that would indicate that such a thing exists, and the mere idea of it sounded foreign to them.
And that's where you would possibly have a conflict with world leaders and religious leaders. That's possibly why they wouldn't want it to be released if it's absolutely true. So.
Yeah, but they could spin it. I mean, if they need to keep their business going, then they can spin it and, just acknowledge that it's a reality and then spin it to where, whatever, however you need to do it, religion's great at it. They'll figure out a way to spin it to make it fit the doctrine, and people can go on, keep supporting it. But we can't, it's going to be difficult to acknowledge that stuff like this is happening when you got this, like, event at the Dome of the Rock. I mean, and more of them happening all the time, that more and more people are seeing for themselves. It's going to be hard to convince them that they didn't see that.
Yeah. I'd like to know where G took off to. See what he's up to.
Where does G always take off to? I told you G is Batman. Telling you. You never seen Batman and G together at the same time, right?
Yeah, we had a show up here in Canada that was called Polka Dot Door. They had the same thing with a character called Pokeroo. It's always funny how the male host was never around when Pokeroo was there.
Do they have any idea how dangerous it is to leave you and I on a live chat? Just rambling on.
Yeah.
Rambling on. The dangers are inherent and exponential. Truth is, I don't care what the truth is, I just want to know what it is. If the truth is that it's the Easter Bunny or Godzilla or, the thing from Mars, whatever. I don't care. I got no dog in this fight. I just want to know what the real scoop is, and I'll deal with it after that.
Yeah, exactly. It's enough of this mentality, especially like growing up and coming to an age where you realize your parents are patronizing you, and it's just like enough is enough. Like.
And I acknowledge there's a large percentage of people who prefer the warm, safe, fuzzy delusion to the cold, stark reality that we don't know. We don't know what this is. We don't know where we are. We don't know why we are, when we are. We don't know anything.
Yeah.
And until we can acknowledge that, it's, we're not going to get very far. I know that scares people because, again, they prefer the warm, fuzzy delusion. They like thinking they got it all figured out. They got a series of things that all they have to do is follow these steps and everything is taken care of forever and ever and ever. Amen.
Well, just like the fear mongering that's going on with a lot of the TV, people are afraid of the unknown. They don't want to not know. They want to be able to foresee things down the pipeline so they can be prepared. You know, and
Understandable.
get scared.
Understandable.
They get scared when they can't see that.
See, I get scared when I can't know. I get scared when I can't get the information, the real information, enough to know what's really going on. That's what scares me more than the thought that, oh no, I don't have it all figured out. No, I'm already there. I already know that I don't know anything. I already know I don't have it figured out, so that's the problem. I'm trying to resolve, I'm trying to look for the information that will resolve all that. I don't want to pretend that I've already got it figured out and case closed, go on to the next thing.
Yeah.
Especially when someone can come along and point out something that I'm missing. That's what I really look for.
Yeah, and that's why that so many different opinions are actually a good thing to a certain degree.
Yeah.
Just different perspectives and
if all of them are valid, then the more of them we have on the table, then the more of the pieces of the puzzle that we can see.
And it depends on where that opinion's coming from. If it's coming from somebody who's trying to be selfish more than altruistic, I guess you'd say.
That'll make itself known. That will make itself known. But put all the pieces on the table, even the bad ones, even the scary ones, even the nasty ones that we really wish didn't even exist, but they do. I'd rather them be put on the table so we can have all the pieces of the puzzle, so we can know that, oh, okay, there are some dark pieces here, and we need to at least be aware of that so we can avoid it, But I'd rather know it's there and put it on the table and have that shady shit under the table where we don't know that it's going on, so we can't even acknowledge it and we can't avoid it, I'm going to pull up our chat here since it looks like everybody's abandoned us. At least we can see if there's anyone still watching. Looks like 27. Maybe we can pull up some comments here. Pretend that there's a live audience. But I already know all these guys are bots. They're not real.
Yeah, there's not many comments. There hasn't been for a while. America died. That's about it. That's the only one commenting.
Well, here, no, actually, there's some new comments, including some from Stinger and Ronnie Brown, crystal clear. Thanks, Chad. Okay, Poison Stinger says, Chad, if there's a God, then there's probably a devil. If they're both real and all powerful, then couldn't the devil appear as an alien? Couldn't he then say, I don't know nothing about this God you speak of. From listening to you, while it's evident that you believe the way you want to believe and make fun of all else. Okay. You say you want to know the truth and just the truth no matter what it is, but you are closed-minded to any other beliefs and call them fairy tales. Well, that's a fair point of view. In my mind, the only thing I'll call fairy tales is that for which there is no evidence for, or that which violates sense, logic, the known laws of physics, etc. If people are believing things that are simply not true, then, and again, by not true, I mean what I just said by, verifiable via those means, well then, yeah, I do kind of consider them fairy tales. I don't mean to make fun of them. I guess I do that because in my mind these ideas that aren't provable should be ridiculed, because we should be going forward, and wrong ideas or ideas that are not correct are holding us back, in my mind, in my opinion. But I understand where you're coming from. As far as, you are right with the sense that, yeah, if the God thing is on the up and up, then sure, the whole charade, the demons could pretend to be aliens and give us this false information so we believe something, and this tragic play that trying to convince people of stuff that I can't even understand really, but it gets convoluted after that. It could very well be the case, though. I mean, if that's what needs to happen for the play to continue, then cool, but to me it just seems like I don't know. I'm just going by the evidence. I'm looking at the video and I'm like, looks like a ship to me. Doesn't look like a demon. Looks like a ship. But as far as the way I want to believe, I don't want to believe anything. I just want to know what is true. If I know what's true, then I don't have to believe anything. I can just, I don't have to believe math. I know 2 + 2 is 4. I don't have to believe that. I can prove it. I can demonstrate it. I can see it in the world around me. It's true in every direction. Yes, this is a valid truth. So I don't have to believe anything about that. And so I appreciate things that can demonstrate themselves that way. But
Yeah, so it's kind of the interesting thing about science, how they have their certain level of how, they stack up all this evidence and what you say proofs, to show that this is how things are, and then they always get to a certain point where they get a conflict, like between Newton and Einstein type stuff. It's just how can you have both a wave and a particle at the same time, and things just get really weird after that.
Yeah,
that's
now,
a great.
now you're getting down to arguing the micro part of it. But we know that certain things, like certain laws, are truth. Like law of gravity. And
No, he said a lot there, though. One thing is confirmation bias, and scientists do this all the time. They fall in love with a theory, and then they go cherry pick evidence that supports that theory in order to prove it true. When it may be true, it may not be true. That's not the correct way to do quote-unquote science. That's not the scientific method. Whatever the evidence is, that's what you follow. You have no belief in it. You have no dog in the fight. You're hoping to be wrong, as a matter of fact. You're hoping to discover something you didn't know that you didn't know. That's what real science is. But a lot of scientists will go through what's called confirmation bias, where they try to prove their theories are correct, because that's somehow important. And it leads to a lot of misunderstanding, just like any other believing in false ideas. If they're untrue and they're unfounded, then so be it. We move on to the next thing and we discover what is true, so we can operate there. Basically, I don't know anything else out of the Bronze Age that we consider useful other than the Bible.
I don't know. What did they learn during the Bronze Age? They learn how to smelt metal and manufacture items from it. So
Well, there's
we're
some
still
value
using
to
that.
that.
We're still
Yeah,
using that.
there's some value to that, definitely. But we've learned a lot since then. I don't know that I want to guide my life by the current knowledge of the Bronze Age, without medications and without, I don't know. Just to me, there's so much available, and we've got all this at our fingertips, and we don't seem to be, not all of us seem to be learning.
yeah, and it even proves that you can't trust history either, because the Bronze Age in Mesopotamia, it's already been proven that there wasn't enough copper to support the production that they did, and that they were actually drawing copper from North America.
That too. History is a good story. It's his story. It doesn't make it true, but it's the one we know. It's a scary thing. It'd be fascinating to see if all of us could observe, and I mean all of us, like everyone in the whole world, if we could all observe everything since the very beginning all up until now. And like every person who's born, that's what you should see. Everything that's ever happened since the beginning, whatever the beginning was, since that moment right there, boom, in a flash, you get it all of human existence, you know it all, it's in your genes, it's in your DNA, boom, and you're born, and you start from there.
Yeah, the weird thing is it might actually be there. The problem is just unlocking it and being able to view it.
I agree, but I think it should be conscious. I mean, that we should be fully aware of everything that's ever been known to this point, and then you're here to further it, because that's what's going on anyway. We're just doing it unconsciously for some reason.
It's kind of those weird things about being trapped in our dimension that if you were able to observe the entire holograph, then you'd be done. It's like I finished the internet. Nothing else to see.
Yeah, that's kind of an Einstein quote too about the reason for time is so that everything doesn't happen all at once.
Yep.
Uh,
Otherwise, it'd all be done, and it's like, oh, okay, then it'd cease to exist, basically, because it's not even got processing involving anymore.
By the way, if you guys have never heard of this series called True Detective, phenomenal in all regards, but there's a moment in there where he talks about time being a flat circle, and meaning we're inside this sphere, and to us, time is linear, goes forward and backward, now in the past, present, all that stuff. He said, but if you were outside the sphere, looking down on it, it would just look like a flat circle.
Yeah, the whole idea of trying to visualize exterior dimensions and things like that gets it bends most people's brains, John.
It bends my brain. I watch these science shows, and I'm like, the universe is only comprehensible in my mind to a certain degree. Once it gets so big and so out there, something in my mind snaps, and I'm like, no, I'm beyond what I can handle right now. How can shit be this big?
Well, they're talking about something called the electric universe, that there's electric currents that flow from galaxy to galaxy, and there's fields of plasma or charged particles, and you're used to an electrical circuit. Something's really small, and electricity is basically instantaneous. It loops from the battery to the circuit and back to the battery like almost instantly. But over the space of galaxies, it takes billions of years for the electrical circuit to complete one loop, and then the whole trying to grasp that in your mind how the electric circuit could work, and over such a long period of time, it's like it boggles your mind, kind of thing.
It does. It does. Said I get to a point listening to it where, that stuff's fascinating to me. I'd like to understand what the hell's going on in black holes and shit like that. That is like, what? Hold on, there's a rip in there's a hole in what we know as time and space, and shit's swirling down this drain faster than the speed of light, so fast and so strong that light can't even escape from it. What's on the other side of that shit?
Well,
Where's that stuff going?
I think it's because we haven't grasped, and it's hard for the human mind to get past 3 dimensions to whatever the 4th dimension might be.
Yeah, where's that going? If this is existence and space and time, and that's swirling down the drain, then where's that drain go?
Just goes into another dimension in a sense. I'm trying to remember the name of this guy who talked about. He kind of made the universe sound like it's folded inside of itself, so every point is connected to everything else.
Yeah.
Right.
Where you get your, I forget what the terminology is called, where you get an electron that's paired up with another electron that reacts the same, even though they're in different locations.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what they call that too. But if you disturb one electron that's been separated from the other one, once they've been paired up, the other one feels it, even though it's separated, almost instantaneously.
Yeah, almost like electroempathy.
Hello, are you signed to the dragon?
Oh,
Are you signing the dragon?
I came in through the dragon. I'm probably going to leave about midnight like I usually do.
Yeah, I'm about to lock her down. You want to close her up?
Yeah, we can do that. About 12:05, I want to go to Coast AM. So.
Can you lock her up in 15 minutes?
Yeah, I guess just got to push that stop broadcast button, and anybody else is still in here can hang out or whatever they want to do.
You're the man, brother. I appreciate it. Good looking out.
Good to see you, G.
Likewise, brother. I text Mule if he wanted to lock it up tonight, but I didn't want to leave it. I didn't want to leave unless either you or Mule could lock it up, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's no problem. Thanks for sending out all the invites to all the stuff you got going on, but they always show up about 2 hours late, because just Google, I guess.
Yeah, that's weird. All right, brother. Y'all have a good one. Stan, I'll talk to y'all. Chad,
Yep.
Hi, Gene.
good night, everybody.
Right?
You know, you said before about the wave and the. That's a curious thing because we don't understand why that happens. To break it down for people who don't know what the hell we're talking about, scientists have found that when light behaves in different ways at different times. When you look at it, it's in one form, and when you're not looking, it does something else. And they don't know why. They don't understand it. They don't understand what's causing it. But there's an observer principle that's in effect that when you're looking at things, they're in one state. When you turn your head, they're in another.
Right.
Now, anybody that can figure that out, I'd love to hear from you. I'm ICP Chat on Twitter. Come talk to me. Because that right there is something, whoa. You know,
To me, it's almost in comparison, like if a tree falls in the woods, and nobody's around, does it make a sound?
well, but the answer to that is no, because sound is a vibration, and without anyone's ears around to pick up, to be the receiver for the vibration, no, there actually is no sound, because sound is only a result of the vibration. Without a receiver, no, there would be no sound. It's just a wave traveling through the forest. But when to look at light and observe it in one form, and then and my other question is, how do they know it's changing forms? Are they recording it somehow, like with a microscope that's got a recorder? And when they look, it's in one state, and when they're not looking, it's in another? How did they discover that it's in a different state when they're not looking, if they are not looking? You see what I'm
Yeah, it's all,
saying?
all fucked up about quantum mechanics, how the presence of the observer influences the
we just
outcome.
don't know, and it didn't make Einstein wrong or Edison wrong or Newton wrong. It just means now we know something else. Everything they said is correct on the physical levels, but when it gets to the metaphysical levels and the quantum levels, things are not what they seem.
Yeah.
But what I was trying to get back to is what Singer was bringing up is the belief. There are some schools of thought that really do say out loud that whatever you believe, that's what's true. Now, among them are Scientology, I have to point out, but that's just the truth of it.
Same with Common Core.
What's that?
Same with Common Core.
Okay, Common Core. There you go, another example. Ooh, that is a good example. I didn't realize that, but that's true. But there's a lot of them that they profess that, yes, what you believe is the truth for you. Now, I don't agree with that, and yet, knowing what I know about quantum mechanics, what if there is something to this? Because if you are observing light and it behaves in one way, well, clearly your observation is affecting it, but what is your belief doing to it? Your electrical energy that you're projecting onto it, what is it doing to it?
Yeah, so everybody has their own what they call a separate reality tunnel that, based on your experiences and what you've been taught is your reference frame or whatever is going to be different.
I mean, does that actually go, and this is just kind of throwing a freaking spitball out there, but does that actually go back to when you're a child and you're afraid that when you turn your back that something behind you is going to grab you?
Or maybe just back to the belief that as long as you're under the covers, the monsters can't get you.
Right.
Yeah, it just goes back to all us worrying about all this world trouble and all this bullshit. That we would be better off if we were in a world where we didn't pay attention to any of this shit and just lived our life,
Frankly, I will profess that I would love to live in a world where, or an existence where, yes, what I believed happened, and what I believed to be true was true regardless. That would be awesome. In fact, I would be a god.
Yeah, there's some group out there in the West Coast of OTO or Order Temporal Orientals or something like that, where they talk about your free will is is your command or whatever. Do what thy will shall be the whole of the law or something like that.
Okay, that's written in many places, including Aleister Crowley.
Yeah, but the question is, as long as your will doesn't impose on somebody else's will, then it's libertarian, I guess.
Yeah, but do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Well, that's saying that it's okay to violate other people, because if it's my will to violate you and take what you got or whatever, well then it's saying that, hey, do what thou wilt. That's okay. And I don't. That's not what I think, but I am familiar with the belief.
Well, free will is pretty, in a sense, a fundamental principle of the great American experiment. In a sense, the colonists were breaking away from the traditions of the Europeans.
A lot of people really don't want to know the truth, even when they're presented with it. They won't acknowledge it. They will stick to their story. And I was talking to the guys about this before, but there was a tree that was discovered to be a miraculous tree, because you could stand underneath of it, you could say a prayer, and you could feel the tears of Jesus falling on you. And people flocked from all over the world to come to this tree and stand under it and experience this. They had revelations, they had breakthroughs, all kinds of miracles happened standing under this tree. And scientists heard about it finally, and they said, oh, okay, a place we can go and examine, cool, we'll go do that. And they did. They went and looked at it. They come to find out it wasn't just this tree that would weep these magic tears of Jesus. It was all the trees throughout the entire region did it, and they did it no matter what you said or who stood under them, or if no one stood under them, they did it anyway, because they were infested with these bugs that migrate there during that time of year. And part of their mating was to spew their urine out their backs, and there's so many thousands of them infested in these trees that they're spewing their urine out. And so these people standing underneath the tree getting doused in bug urine, thinking it's the tears of Jesus, even when they're told what it really is, they don't care. They prefer to believe it's the tears of Jesus.
As long as they're enjoying the experience,
I guess that way. I mean,
It's like going to the amusement park. I mean, you pretty much know it's all just a show, but you still enjoy yourself. So,
That's not a lot different than throwing children in the volcano, because you gotta appease the lightning gods or whatever. It's the same thing. It's just a belief, and it doesn't have to make sense. It's just somebody needs to believe it.
Well, I believe one thing that about a few minutes here, I'm gonna log out of here, but I don't know if anybody's got shout outs they want to do, or shout out Fortune Cookie 45 Long Colder LC. It's a really good channel if you want to reload ammunition, and been learning about making my own slugs and 12 gauge shotgun shells. So I haven't tried them out yet, but I was enjoying Chad's little video about his little setup. So
Nice, you'll dig that.
If you want to enjoy, learn about loading 12 gauge slugs, from the Lee Molds. Fortune Cookie's got like a 5-part series from about, I don't know, 2 years ago that shows you all about that. So
Nice.
I made up a batch of them.
nice to get out to the range and test them out.
Yeah, just going out to the backyard. We've had the monsoon going on here for the last 2 days.
You'll like that. That's a cool experience.
What's up, Warrior?
So I don't know, you guys gonna hang around and continue chatting? I can throw an open link out there and it goes off live. Or
Yeah, open link. Welcome everybody. Bring your beliefs.
Okay, post it out there. Okay, there we go. Open link going out. You see the he shows
Oh
up.
wait,
There it
everyone
goes.
can come and yell at me for pointing out the bug piss.
The bug piss.
Yeah, we're just all constantly swimming in piss and shit. It's just that's life.
That's what we've made it.
Yeah.
It'd be funny to do a show where where they have like an intervention on those people.
Well, that's why they can't stop the spread, and that's why That's why they've ever had a problem with Ebola in Africa, is because it's their belief system that you have to wash the bodies of the dead. And so when these people are dying of Ebola and it's their family, their belief system says they have to wash that body or it can't enter heaven. So they have to wash it, which gets them infected with Ebola.
Yeah, that's one thing kind of scary about the Ebola. There's somebody I was on the Rush Limbaugh show. They were talking to some doctor about it, and they were asking all kinds of questions about whether or not it can spread from a person who has it before that person shows symptoms. And if that's the case, then that's going to be really difficult to identify who's spreading it. You know,
Understandable.
you don't show the symptoms, but the virus has progressed to the point that it can leave you and go on to somebody else. That's pretty bad news.
Totally understandable, but it scares me more that that's how effective a belief is, because even once you come and tell these people, hey, it would be better if you don't wash the dead bodies of these Ebola victims, they won't listen. That they have to follow their belief systems too, even though it's going to kill them.
Yeah, I really don't have too many beliefs. I have more like guiding principles.
Yep. Yeah.
I look for what works. I'm a pragmatist.
That statement in itself is a guiding principle.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I'm just more of an optimist in the point where I try to look for things that will make all of society work to a better degree, you know. But I mean, even there, you get people that call that communism, and so where do you draw the line between societal progression and communism?
Yeah.
It's kind of the whole thing about communism is kind of weird too. Think about like a beehive where you have the queen and all the workers and that social structure.
In
How that
essence, that's what it is. If you have a president of that country, you know, he's the head
To a
honcho.
certain degree, Canada is communist. We call it more of a socio-democracy, or at least we were used to. A lot of the resources that became popular, like the telephone and power, became resources of the state that were controlled and regulated that way. But I mean, more and more so, we're going to privatize everything. So I mean, it's all just getting chaotic.
Yeah, and you're talking about belief systems. Something that was going on back just before the Federal Reserve and shortly after the 14th Amendment. There's something called manufactured consent, where they make people believe that they're saying, oh, this is okay, you know, and then they're encouraging them just to go along with all the bullshit, where they don't even realize that they're being manipulated, you know.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's many ways of manipulation, and there's been many ways more created even in the past 50, 100 years.
And even as Poison Stingers point out there in the chat about, he's saying 100 years ago, they said there was nothing smaller than the atom, and believing otherwise would have been a fairy tale then. And a belief in science is he's saying a belief in science is not as secure as you think. Well, the difference in science is once the very, very moment that the first person discovered there was something smaller than the atom, everyone else went, oh, okay, and then everything changes. See, in religion, nothing can ever change. Because
in actual fact, when that happened, he was more criticized than anything.
Absolutely, because he was telling, he's probably saying something that violated somebody's dogma. But yeah, eventually he was probably ridiculed at first, but then as other people discovered it, looked at the same facts, and came to the same conclusion, then all of a sudden they realized, yeah, there's some truth in this, and everything changes accordingly, because that's how science works, or that's how thinking works. When you come into new information that shows you otherwise, well, you have to account for that. You can't ignore it. You have to change according, with it. So, but you're right. Science at one time said one thing, and turns out something else was true. Not because they were misleading you, it's because they didn't know. And the moment they did know, everybody changes their mind.
I mean, you look at the way they propagandized Tesla back in the day, and now we look at his stuff and go, oh my God.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I mean, at least scientists will tell you that yes, it's all best guess. We don't know. We're educated guess at best. You can't get anyone from the other side to say that because they already know the story. They know the ending. They know everything about it, and that's it. There's no room for revision at all, ever. And in fact, it's called blasphemy.
Or treason, depending on what topic you're on.
Yeah, whether you're political or whatever.
Well, I'm going to shut this puppy down. Has anybody got any last minute shout outs or anything? Thank everybody that's been watching tonight. It's been kind of a different chat. We've got 23 viewers still. There's a live link out there if you want to come in. Alrighty, well, we're gonna do the stop broadcast. Let's see, today's Tuesday. I don't know if someone's gonna get around to doing DT Wednesday, DT hour or not. I won't be home, so I won't be able to do it. But Stinger maybe will fire up DT hour at I don't remember what time he was doing that. It was 2 Central Time if he decides to do that. So otherwise, back on Thursday. So, all right, good night, everybody. Shut her down.
Good night.
The word for tonight is belief.